Brother Marong,
Yes, sir.
good afternoon. Another Sunday.
Uh,
I think
yes.
another Sunday. Time really flies, brother man. It really does. I can't even believe that we're in mid-September. Wow,
Yep.
time definitely flies. So how are things in Vancouver?
Excellent, man. We had a naming ceremony yesterday, so
Okay,
some of you Atlanta folks were there too. The Sanyangs.
okay, okay.
Uh,
Okay, all the way to Vancouver. So it looks like you guys are building a little community there.
no, it's not a little community, man. We're increasing. It's not like Atlanta, but we're
You get it?
getting there.
You get it there. Wow. I mean, it reminds me, and you know how these communities are. Back in, now Pasamba is going to say I'm old, back in the 90s, and I mean,
Early
early,
parts of
early
90s or mid 90s.
no, early 90s, actually. We were in Providence, Rhode Island. It was a small community, maybe if we, 10, 15 of us, you know. But now, that place, we're talking about thousands.
Yeah.
Seriously. I
It's
mean,
like Wisconsin, man. Madison, Wisconsin. When we used to be there in the mid 90s, it was like few of us. I mean, we can count. But
it,
that has increased exponentially now. A lot of people are in Madison.
all it takes
Yeah.
is one person, then brings a friend, and another friend brings a friend, and then they bring a family member. I mean, before you know it, I remember the first Senegalese actually that came to Providence. He was a taxi driver in New York, and then he came to Providence. He was staying with us. We had this three-bedroom apartment. And now the Senegalese community within Pawtucket and Woonsocket, that is Metro Providence, I mean, it's like they have these big gamos and you name it. It's so interesting sometimes. And talking about Gamo, bro, happy Maulud Nabi. Today is the Maulud Nabi. No, do you celebrate that?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
No,
wow. You don't?
no,
Oh,
I
wow.
don't.
Bro, that's
Yeah.
our, actually, I'm heading to one tonight. We have one Savannah. The people from, I mean, Tiwaun. And then there's another one. I mean, the Nyasens, we call them, from Kaulak. They also having
Mm,
Gamo. I mean, it was big deal, man. My father used to, oh my God. We used to go to this place called Demischa. It's somewhere within the Kafring area. It's a big Marabu guy there. I mean, this was my father's thing. He was really into this. He used to say, when we're heading to Demischa, Jegi bo Jegi, Jagangacha. The guy's name was Alaji Abibu Sal. I mean, he really believed in that man, big time, really. Happy Maulud to everyone out there. So, brother man,
yeah.
another interesting week. Looks like we're going to be having, I mean, Mr. Bojang, Kemo. We've tried a few times to get him on this platform, but he's finally coming today. So it will be interesting, right?
Yeah, it will be. He wants to come on, so he reach out and he
Right.
wants to come on, and we give him the opportunity. So, you know,
I'm
I'm
talking
hoping
about,
he's prepared. I'm hoping he's prepared.
oh, I'm sure he is. I mean, I don't know him personally, but I've seen him out there. He's a young man that I really like him. I mean, he's very measured, very smart, a young guy. And like I said, I'm not too crazy about people that are into this breaking China and talking crazy. At least I don't see him to be that way, candidly speaking. I mean, anytime he opens his mouth, he seems to know what he's talking about. I mean, and that's a good thing, especially for um, young people that are coming up. I mean, that should give us hope. that these young men, they have their cues together, and he's one of them, really. But again, we will see. First time on this platform, we're going to push the envelope a little bit and jahas bahas here and there and see what happens. I think Mr. Bojang has just joined us. Yes, sir. Kemo, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm doing exceptionally well. Nice to have you on the 40 People by the People for the first time.
Yes, I mean, Saryang has, unfortunately, even when I was in Seattle, and then he met me there, he had told me that he would want to have me on. But I wasn't ready at the time. But now, alhamdulillah, now I think, we're good to go.
I hate to ask, what do you mean by you are not ready? And why are you ready now?
I mean, I think when you're, how do I put it? When you are being invited to a platform,
Right.
in Robert Greene's book, 48 Laws of Power, he speaks about, I think it's rule number 11, familiarity breeds contempt.
Mhm.
And I have been trying as much as I can to not be in the limelight as much as possible.
Okay.
And that has been one of the reasons why, I've really reduced my media appearances.
Mhm.
But I mean, last month I was on Kerfado, so I do think it's also time to honor your invitation, and that is why I said, now I think I am ready. Yeah.
Fair enough. And I like that answer. You see what I say, Sarian? The man, he has his stuff together. I think that's a hell of an answer. I really like that. Sarian, it's all yours.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Give me
Kemo, back
give me a
Kemo,
minute.
welcome.
Are you guys getting me clearly? Because it was breaking. I wanted to move from the Wi-Fi to the mobile data. I'm not sure if that would work better.
We can hear you though.
All right, we can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. Okay.
All right, Bakimo, welcome to For the People and By the People. And we appreciate your willingness to appear on the platform today. And Musa puts the word out there. I hope the cousins, your yellow cousins, your comrades will be very happy to watch you today. So hopefully we anticipate maybe the server might crash, but who knows, so we'll see. But Bakemo, welcome. And first of all, people see you all the time writing stuff on Facebook. Heard your name back, Kemo Bojang. But can you kind of give us a brief introduction who Bakemo is?
Okay. Like you mentioned, my name is Kemo Bojang. I'm originally from Bakau, but Abadibunka Barino, if you would call it. And I'm a young politician and a young person who is very passionate about civil rights, civil justice, but also having an equitable society. So I got into politics at a very early age. I really got active around 14, 15 years because by the time I was in grade 8, grade 9. So it was a time where, through and also, giving props to people like Pamalik Shingun Nyasi, Rambo Jata, Usman Rambo Jata, they were the people that really influenced and inspired us to get into politics at that time. But, at the time it was more of just,
Hope someone is not calling him.
Yeah. One of those.
Yeah, Father Mose, before Kemo comes in,
Go ahead.
What's up with the debate, man? What's up with the debate?
Oh my God, bro. And you know what? For whatever reason, I was nervous. I don't know whether it was because of,
I was never nervous. I thought I was very confident that
as much as
he was
I
going to
knew
stick it in him.
the lady was going to execute and take it to him. But for whatever reason, I was just nervous. Kemo is back.
You know,
I was indeed nervous, but boy.
all right. Our guest is back, you know.
Yeah. Kemo, you back? We kind of missed you there for a minute.
Yeah, it's a network. So like I was saying, so I said I got active in politics at a very early age, but like I mentioned, people like Pamalik Singunyasi, the likes of Usman Rambo Jata, were inspirations to some of us growing up because they were the younger guys we could look up to. So then I got into high school and I got exposed to a lot of books on socialism, and I made best use of the People Center down in Serakunda and other libraries that were around at the time. And in high school, I became a very hothead, and it was my exposure to also social media, and I got access to the. Yeah.
You're kind of breaking up, though.
Yeah. I hope it's not going to be a rough one as far as the internet.
Hello?
Are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yes. So like I said, so in high.
Yeah, I think he's on his
Sorry about that.
mobile data. Maybe he needs to switch to Wi-Fi. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. So like I mentioned, so in high school I got access to a lot of books, especially on socialism. I got exposed to the likes of Frantz Fanon, Walter Rodney, and a lot of the likes of Kwame Ture, and most of the Black Panther guys, and I made best use of libraries around. So in high school, I became sort of a hothead and a person who was always against the system. And at the time, Yahya Jammeh was the system. It even got to a point that everybody knew that if it was time to go welcome Yahya Jammeh on the streets, even though I was I was the deputy head boy at the time, nobody could take me out and go welcome Jammeh on the streets. So, but I also believe that my political culture and socialization has a lot to do with that. Coming from Bakau, which has been known to be a very opposition-based town, my socialization in politics was very radical in a way. So in 2016, I was fortunate to be one of the young people who set up the Progressive Youth Network, which is a network that was working with GOVA, and other activists, in America and the diaspora as a whole. I got, to know the likes of Coach Pasamba Jao. Then I got to know the likes of Benny. We had done a lot of work with Benny on the ground, supporting the coalition. And I believe in March, I was one of the 7 young people who wrote to the coalition members to set up a coalition, because I knew that going into that was in August, because I knew that after our Congress in Basse, the UDP had taken a position to go into a coalition, party-led coalition. And we were looking to work on having a united front against Jammeh at the time. And myself and other young people had written through the foreign newspaper to opposition leaders, asking them to form a coalition. After that, University of the Gambia days, we started the Young Citizens for Development with the likes of the current Minister of Information, Dr. Ismail Assise, who was our lecturer at the time. And we popularized and gave support to the Gambia Has Decided movement at the time. In fact, we organized the first face-to-face convergence of the Gambia Has Decided at the University of the Gambia. And then the NIAs came to arrest me because I was very vocal at the time also, in fact, during the election, speaking to international media houses like Al Jazeera and BBC, sharing my position and the position of young Gambians in the political field, especially when it comes to transition and
democratization of the Gambia. So because of the persecution that I was exposed to, I had to move to Senegal, and also in Senegal myself, the likes of Killa Ace at the time, and other like Seni Marena, Sheriff Bojang, and many other Gambians who were there, Fabakar Cisse, and we were there, and I had a lot of connections there. From then, the impasse came. Myself, the likes of Ali Uba, Mohamed Sandeng, the likes of Killa Ace, we were the ones who had, and Ismail Assad, a very great koto of mine, set up the Help Gambia Foundation, where we had left Dakar and went to Karang and Amdalai to support fleeing Gambians. And we were there for almost a week, supporting refugees. When we came back home, a change had happened. And I always had a position that you cannot continue to criticize from the outside. At some point, you must take a position and be part of the players. As Chinua Achebe has written in his book, There Was a Country. When you stand on the sidelines of a game, you cannot really write the story unless if you're an active player and part and parcel of the game. This is when you can give your position on what needs to happen. I thought of being a member of parliament, and I thought of other positions, but I was advised, and I think it's the best advice that I got, was to go in for local government and with time transition and grow through the system. And this is my second term, as a councillor at the Kanfi Municipal Council under Lord Mayor Tali Ahmed Bensouda Sareen. And I believe that we have done a good job, even though there's still more to be done. But, we're happy with the progress that we have done. And I think we have set a precedence for local governance in Gambia. And we're hoping that anybody who comes after us can build on that success.
Yeah, Kemo, you mentioned something about, to part of your introduction, you said Dr. Ismaila was your lecturer. So you went to UTG, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes, I went to UTG and I studied, a lot of people think I studied political science, but I studied history and had done some courses, in political science. But I also had a stint at the University of Davis, California, and also China Youth University of Political Studies.
Okay. So if you say you study, that means you have a bachelor's degree in history, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving forward, you talk a lot about your political inspiration and being a young guy. Obviously, you are aligned with the UDP. And my first question to you is, how does the future lies for youngsters like you within the political party? And what kind of message do you have for those?
Can you repeat the end of the question? I didn't get you clearly.
Oh, okay. No, you break up. So that's fine. I'll repeat. I said, you talk about a lot of, how you were inspired, and a lot of books that you quoted, which is commendable. But my question to you is, as a young man who is into politics, what kind of message do you have for those young fellows who might be interested in getting into politics, especially for the party that you are aligned? What is the future lies for youngsters within UDP, and how do they absorb them, and what are some of the opportunities and challenges within the party?
All right. I like to say that from 1996 to 2016, no new young politician was born in the country. In the sense, when I say politician, I mean people, who are holding political office or who, are very vibrant in the oppositions or so. I believe that any young politician that was born in Gambian politics at the time was with the ruling party, which was APRC. So you had the likes of Sidi Njai and others who were young politicians, and the likes of Famalik Cisse, but they were for APRC. So, and I don't like to ask the question why nobody, or who did what, when, where, and why, especially when it comes to being part of political parties. Because at the time, political parties were more focused on survival than they were on building institutions. But post-2016, we saw that we had gotten into, a phase of transition. We have also gotten into a phase where political parties were beginning to institutionalize. And we have always said that young people need to be at the decision-making table. But we forget that it is only through politics in our democracies that you can actually be part of decision making, which is, councils, which is being members of parliament, or even with political parties, because I do believe the political parties are governments in waiting and they're shadow governments. So it's important that we as young people, are ready to take an active role in decision making. And positions or power has never been passed on a silver platter. You must be ready to get up and and show that you're willing to play a part in it. And for me, being a young person in the United Democratic Party, I don't think there's any party in this country that's been opened its door for young people as the United Democratic Party. I became a national executive member of the UDP at the age of 21. Not a lot of people can be able to not a lot of people can be able to boast of that, not just within the Gambia, but generally in the continent of Africa or even in the world. Usaino Dabo opened that door for me. Usaino Dabo opened that door for Yakumba Jete. Usaino Dabo opened that door for the likes of Suleiman, Suleiman Saho. Usaino Dabo opened that door for us. God bless his soul, Papa Ture. Usaino Dabo opened that door for Talib Bensouda, for a lot of us young people. So the UDP has always been there as a school for young people who want to take an active role in politics, and has never discriminated anyone based on age. Because I am a true testament and I am a true example of what the UDP has done for young people in this country. And we have continued to show that we are always there to create a platform for young people. So for me, I do believe that now political parties are trying to institutionalize. So we must be able to open up that door where we as young people take an active role in this process and help these parties, because we have always said that, politics in Gambia needs to evolve. But we are the evolutionists. So until we, the evolutionists, take part in evolving these parties into institutions and organizations, we will continue to have the same problem that we are with.
All right, thank you. Faramos, go ahead.
Kemo, again, welcome to For the People, by the People. It's really nice to have you this afternoon. Like you said, you're from Bakau.
Yes, and in fact, you're my in-law, because Fanekunda is where we all go and hang out with
oh, really?
Prof when he lived in Newtown. Yes.
Oh, no. Then I'm going to be nice to you, because my wife is just not too far away from me, and I want to make sure that I treat you very nicely. Yeah, you're from Bakau. Bakau is known to be, like I always tell this friend of mine, Lamin Boy Jata, he's from Bakau. I mean, the militancy about Bakau, I still remember growing up in James, Senegal, we'd be like, Bakau Chalo, anytime Bakau plays against in Banjul, it's always that rivalry. Now, being from Bakau, your political demeanor, though, I mean, you're a little bit different, kind of. I mean, in other words, like a Rambo, Rambo, you would know that Rambo is from Bakau. But you're different. Why is that?
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you. It was breaking.
Yeah, I said, we have politicians like Rambo from Bakau. Yeah. Oh, you still can't hear me. Oh, my goodness.
I think my network's tripping on me once more. Give me a minute. I have a backup.
All good. But we can hear you, though. Hello? Are you there?
Sorry, Mr. Jang.
No.
The network's tripping one.
Yeah. Sariang, I think the internet is it's not been cooperative today.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do, I want to just go and do the ads and then come back, right?
Yeah, no problem.
Believe the hype, because it's that good. A true kitchen essential. Get Candy Spice products to impress your family and friends with great food, creating flavorful memories. We have pepper sauce, marinades, gourmet spices, barbecue sauces, fruit butter, African snacks, and much more. every other gets a gift. Yes, you heard that right. Every other gets a gift. Candy Spice, it's handcrafted and all natural. We have options, you choose. Order at www.candyspice.com.
While you have certainly heard about coronavirus, commonly called COVID, you might not know these important facts and ways to protect your family from the illness it can bring. COVID can be very contagious through air, touch, or sharing food. It has been studied at length, and we can share with you what we know so far. Who are we? We are New World International, a non-profit organization located in Washington State, and our mission is to educate people about coronavirus. The coronavirus can cause serious illness and, yes, even death if not treated right away. The symptoms are similar to the common flu: fever, cough, sore throat, and shortness of breath. Many people experience these symptoms and wait too long to seek medical attention. That can be a life-threatening mistake. Certainly, keeping a safe distance from others that appear to have flu symptoms is advisable. It's always better to be safe than sorry. If you develop these symptoms, there won't be any way for you to know that it's just a common flu unless you have a test done. It's best to seek out a doctor, nurse, health worker, or health facility to get advice and treatment if needed. If you are a student, report the conditions to your teacher right away. By all means, stay home if you are sick. Always cover your mouth and nose if you sneeze, and wash up afterward. The contagion spreads with the moisture droplets. As you have heard, there is a vaccine available for coronavirus. Seriously consider receiving a vaccine before you become ill. And above all, consult with your doctor when you do not feel well. For more information, please visit us online at newworldinternational.org.
Yeah, man, I'm so sorry.
Believe me, you don't have to be sorry. You don't have control over that. It is what it is. Maybe that's why we need young politicians like yourself, and we can at least bring about change and make internet much more accessible.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
The question that I was actually asking is, you being from Bakau, what are expectations in terms of politicians from Bakau? Normally very opposition. I mean, sometimes very confrontational. You know, we have the Rambo Jadas and even your own, I think, dad or Imbo by force. But you come across a little bit differently. What shaped your political outlook, if you know what I'm asking about? Why are you so different from the typical, what one would say, the typical, politician from Bakau?
I think I am the typical politician from Bakau. I think it's just, I think it comes a time, so let me say this. If you read about the history of Bakau, you know that we were the first town to go against the colonial government. This was when the colonial government wanted to have a census and count, the population in the country. And our people had the notion that once you're counted, you're controlled. And we went against that census. And even Mungo Park wrote about the people of Bakau in his book, even though he didn't mention Bakau, but he mentioned Castle Rock, which we call Berenuoto, which is at Sunwing, where you have the small mosque. So he had written some characters about people from Bakau. I think it's something in it. We are a very proud people. and we're people who believe in our conviction and what we believe in. So for me, I think Bakau used to be PPP until when Lion Jai stood against BB Kamara, who is Bakar Kamara, Bakari Bunding Kamara, you know, and my dad was Bakari Bunding Kamara's best friend, and he was his campaign manager also. And, you know, he, for me, is my inspiration. And this is why I've started a new project, which is to document his life, because I do believe that he was one of the best. I've never met him, but everybody I've spoken to, yes, he was in that accident with my dad, and my dad and also former permanent secretary Surwa Jete. So my dad and Basuru were lucky to survive, and he did not. But you realize that there's very little written about him, and I've taken it upon myself to write about his life story. Because even though I haven't met him, but everybody I've spoken to about BB Kamara has always only said good things about him and his ambition and where he wanted the Gambia to be. And for me, he has been one of my, and so I believe when we say usually politicians in Bakau are hardliners, I think hardliners or a hardliner is a very subjective definition. Someone can be a hardliner but not be the loud type of hardliner. I believe that is the type of person I am. So I don't think there's any real character of a Bakau politician, if one could say. We have always been an opposition. So we've always had the likes of Dembo by Force, who was very vocal in the parliament. We had the likes of Rambo Jara, who was very vocal. But Rambo was also youth president of the UDP, of the main opposition party. Dembo by Force was also campaign manager of the main opposition party. Correct. Today you have a parliamentarian from Bakau who is very capable and is very grounded, locally in the town, but he's not loud. People don't even know him that much, and that's Asan Toure. So I believe everybody has their character, but we need to also understand context. In the time that Rambo and the likes of Dembo by Force were active in politics for the opposition, it was very difficult to be opposition. So you had to be loud to be heard. You had to be, astute to be seen, and you had to stand out. But today we are lucky that we are not in that situation where we have to put these things forward. And times have evolved, and political strategies have evolved. And I do believe that today we cannot let our politics be grounded in the issues of noise and and vibrancy, but we must look at how do we solve issues and problems. No disrespect to the people that were there before us, but correct. I keep saying that the older generation fought with their might. It's our time to fight with our mind. And that has been my, my position for the longest of times.
Correct. I mean, you're a youth, no doubt about that. And an upcoming, I think I said something like an upcoming youth leader. And I think it was Sanabande that said, correct me and said, Mr. Jang, upcoming? So I have to say youth leader. Now, and you also say that you're a student of history.
I think what I'll do, let me use my phone. I've been using my computer, but the network has not been the best.
Very cooperative. Okay.
I think what I'm going to do, let me just use my phone.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah. So, Sariang, we want to wish, again, a happy birthday to brother Saul Baji.
Yeah,
today
saw that, man.
His birthday, and we want to give him a shout out. So, and I'm gonna call the madam to make sure that she put together a nice dinner tonight, a birthday dinner. So definitely, yeah, bro. It looks like the internet. How was sabote affaire?
Brother man, so happy birthday, my brother man.
Yeah, so let me just use my phone. I was trying to use my computer, but it wasn't the best. Yeah.
No,
so let me just use
it looks like the phone. You sounded better, but so what the hell? My question again. You're a student of history.
Yeah.
And you've learned about the older generation politicians, the Sadauda Kairaba, Jawaras, the Dembo by Force, of course, will be in that category. And so, being a student of history, what is there that you think they have done that you guys can do differently? In other words, looking at going all the way back from independence, You being a youth leader, do you think we still pursue their way of politics, the way things, or do we do things a little bit differently? How do you read that? Do we need to have this paradigm shift, or do we just reinforce the direction? Because sometimes we romanticize these politicians. We say, "Oh, our forefathers were, people with reputation. They were honest, and this lack of corruption." We tend to romanticize it. How do you see those people?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so in history, we have divided the African political leaders into three segments. You've got the post-colonial African leaders, you've got the military regimes, because you look at the time frames where coup d'etats and military governments came into place, it was very similar across the continent. And now you have the democratization process, or the democratized leaders. So I like to be realistic. Africa was not utopia, even pre-colonial Africa. It was like any society that had its shortcomings and had its strengths. I have always, argued that the biggest mistake our leaders did, especially post-colonial African leaders, was that we never created nation states, and that has come back to haunt us. This is even why when we talk about patriotism, it's an abstract feeling, or it's an abstract being for a lot of us. For example, if I ask you, Sariang, and I ask you, Musa, what does it mean to be Gambian? Apart from the geographical location we share, there's not a lot that we can talk about that is unique amongst us. So we never really built nations. What we did was we just replaced the colonial leaders, the colonialists, in government or in our political and social settings. So nothing really changed. And I think that has been one of our biggest setbacks as a continent. And until we are ready to correct these mistakes that our leaders have done, it will be difficult for us to develop as a people. And this is the decolonization process. I see no reason why Gambia, Senegal, and Mali, for example, should not have something in common. Because, for example, I try to use myself as an example. When I went to Ivory Coast, I couldn't speak French. But when I went into the market and I had someone speaking Malinke and Jula, I clicked, and it was like I've met my family.
Correct.
And these are issues where you talk about the sense of belongingness, and these are things when you talk about relativity. And this is why we have found it very difficult, because you have brought people from different ways of life. You've brought people from different cultures and brought them into a heterogeneous society and just asked them to function like nothing is wrong. It's always going to be conflict, and that is why we have found ourselves in the position we have found ourselves in. So, and I don't like to romanticize the issue of post-colonial Africa, is that yes, all the problems we've had are based on a few reasons. I believe that one, for example, Nkrumah spoke about the one-party system, and he said that one of the reasons he had attributed, development to one-party system is that because at the time we didn't have a lot of educated people. That's one. Two, or formally educated people. Two, we didn't have a lot of people who understood the ideals of government. So if you had these people separated and divided within political lines, it would have been difficult to develop the continent. So I believe that we must look at changing our political systems, we must look at changing our economic systems, and we must redefine what it means to be African. Are we going to go by patriotism for neo-colonialist constructs, or are we going, which are our countries? And this is why today you have xenophobia. This is why today you have Gambians, blaming Nigerians for everything that happened in this country, even when Nigerians had nothing to do with it. Right. This is why, for example, you go to South Africa, they are blaming Zimbabweans and Nigerians for the wrongs that are happening in their country. Why? Because we have held so tightly to neo-colonial constructs because this is why, for me, I do believe that nationalism to some extent is toxic, because you are becoming attached to a creation that is not even real. And unfortunately, this is where we have found ourselves in. So for me, I like to criticize post-colonial African, with all due respect to them, understanding the situation they found themselves in. But I think they could have done a better job in defining what our nations meant. So instead of building nations, they just built states that the colonialists had left with them. You come to the second aspect where you have military rulers. Because of the problems I've mentioned in the first part, made a lot of these military rulers claim they wanted to decolonize the continent. And a lot of them came in, you had the better ones. You had the likes of Nkrumah, you had the likes, you had the likes of Cabral, you had the likes of Samore Michael, you had the likes like this guy from Guinea-Bissau, no, Burkina Faso, what's his name again? I forgot. Thomas Sankara, so all of them were, good ones, but you had a lot of terrible ones. When you talk about the Valentino Strassers, you talk about the James, you talk about, a lot of them. So they had sold dreams because the people were also fed up with the post-colonial leaders, and populism came to be the order of the day. So whatever the people wanted to hear, which was to fight corruption, to give people equality, they propelled and they made themselves look like revolutionaries, especially at the time the Cold War was at its height. It was either you were with the Soviets or you were with the West. So they had to be with people who would support them. Now we're in the democratized era of a lot of African countries, but our mistake is that we haven't learned from the past and we haven't learned from our, from history. And I think a lot of us are repeating the same mistakes. For example, when you talk about Gambia, we wanted to get rid of Jammeh, but we didn't have a plan post Jammeh. And this is why we are in the position we are today.
Well, we did have a plan, but let me let my man come in here. We have a plan that was hijacked. But go ahead, Sariang. We'll come back to that.
Kemo, thank you very much. One key thing that I like, and I think I'm going to take you on this one right here. When you talk about, we talk about the concept, somehow in abstract, about democracy or fighting corruption and, hiding our institutions. Now, obviously, you have a good resume from the start all the way when we had elections in 2026. But now, holistically or in hindsight, where do you think the problem was? So you talk about at the very end, you said we took Jammeh on, he went, but we didn't have a solid plan post Jammeh. What caused that? What was the main reason? Why?
When I talk about that, being on the ground, you realize that in 2016, we found ourselves in a quagmire in the sense that the United Democratic Party was the biggest party at the time. And you had other parties who were influential, but they didn't have the power to push for the changes that we wanted. But I've always said this, that whenever the opposition has united in the Gambia, we have had success. In 1962, when with the referendum for independence, the PPP won when they had a united front. In 2016, we won when we had a united front. So I do believe that if we put our differences aside, a lot of times we come up victorious as a people. But the problem with 2016, in my opinion, is that we never really had a plan. For example, the idea that the coalition was not even a government in waiting, that it took so long for cabinet to be built itself shows you how unready we were at the time. Two, we had a lot of people who, you have brought people on the table who were from different ideologies, who came from different backgrounds and saw politics in different ways. And then you brought them to a table for one common enemy or one common reason. Once that reason was out of the window, it opened up, the same problems because they were not addressed from the start. Even the formation of the coalition, when you look at it, because I wouldn't say I was there when everything was happening, but I was also active thanks to the guidance and the support of people like Alaji S. Dabo, who had also shown us the way that, you could do this, you could do that. It opened up the way for all of us to see. I can tell you that a lot of parties came to that convention without even meeting of the 70 delegates that they needed because they didn't have the people. So, for example, that was an issue. Two, I have always said that, and I have held to this, that nowhere have we seen a convention being held to form a coalition when one party and the others are not at the same pedestal. People can disagree, but I believe that what we have said is that what we have seen all over the world is that when coalitions are being built, the smaller ones do join the bigger one. And this is up for debate, and people can have their differences on that. I believe that these were the issues that we had because it was sort of Mandinka coming for ya dol bulo ni Ural City, just for the sake of it, because they realized that some parties or some institutions at the time were at a disadvantage. So we came forward, and I don't even believe that the coalition thought they were going to win until the last day of the meeting or the campaign, which was in Bakau. I believe in Barrow had said that in a speech that was the day he realized, okay, this is actually doable. So it just showed that we were not ready as a people at the time. And when we won, we couldn't set up a cabinet. It took almost 3 weeks to come up with a cabinet. From there, we saw how we had issues of agreeing on some of the things that we wanted to do. So that's why I believe that the coalition really didn't have a plan. Our plan was to get rid of Jame, and that is why we found ourselves where we found ourselves.
All right. Thank you, Kemo. I wanted to follow up on you've said something about the parties coming together, and I think I've been I've been part of the struggle for a very long time since early part of the 90s. We've tried that. I mean, the biggest party leading the small ones, but there was not much headway per se, right? There was not much attraction when you put these leaders together in the same room to kind of draw a formula to take on Jame, and there was no agreement. I mean, I've attended several conferences. It didn't work out. 2016, somehow, there was a convergence of thoughts, and there was one common denominator, which was Jame, and they took him out. Now, moving forward, from your perspective, no plan, or there was plan, and what lessons have we learned? And what lesson could we apply differently? Maybe 2026 and beyond. Putting into perspective, we have to take responsibility where we drop the ball. We take ownership of it. But what have we learned? And what can we apply moving forward?
One of the points is that, I think which has cost us a lot, is that nobody could have held Barrow accountable except the Gambian people, because he had resigned from any political institution he was part of. So it was difficult to hold any political party responsible for President Barrow's actions. That's one. This is why I've always said that I do believe that the best coalitions are party-led coalitions, and at least there are people to hold accountable when things don't go right. That's one. Two, I believe that the other point we can learn from it is that to have a clearly written plan, be it, I don't think, for example, the whole idea of even going contrary to what the Constitution said when it came to how many years the head of state was supposed to sign, and making it an issue of morality itself, raises questions that people within the coalition, and all of us knew that this is what the Constitution said, but we had come up with another dimension of how many years an individual should serve, and based it on a gentleman's agreement. Thirdly, for example, like I said, equity was very important in the way things were done. And I do believe that we were not equitable when it came to how to run government. While a lot of people would say that coalitions all over the world do not last, but I do believe that we had an opportunity that could have pushed Gambia into the dimension we wanted it to be. But unfortunately, again, egos, because a lot of parties, like I said, couldn't even meet up with the 70 delegates that were supposed to be at the convention, that they had to get people off the street. They had to get people from other parties to be at the convention. And when we had the government, you wanted all these parties to be equal. I felt that was unfair to majority of the parties who had a say in the coalition. So I do believe that it is important that honesty, takes center stage when it comes to coalition building. I do believe that, making sure that egos do not collide is also very important. And also, thirdly, not to personalize issues, because unfortunately, at the time, like I mentioned, political parties were not institutionalized. And a lot of political parties at the time, and up till today in Gambia, have a face as a personality than having the institution of the party. So, for example, we spoke more about Halifa and Dabo, for example, than we spoke about PDIS and UDP. So all of these things were issues I think we can learn from, to see that when we, it is like when you have a company. When it's a limited liability company, it is better to deal with stakeholders and shareholders than when you have, when you're dealing with a sole proprietorship. So I do believe that we must also look at political parties as institutions and deal with them as institutions and not personalize a lot of issues. So I think, in the grand scheme of things, egos had come forward, and the whole idea, had taken, a backseat.
All right, thank you.
I know that sometimes we don't want to go back and relitigate these issues, but I think it's absolutely important, especially if we are ever going to move forward. You said there was no plan. I totally disagree. I think there was a plan. You said you're bringing about parties that have ideological differences. I'm not sure how much of a difference. What we knew at that time was we had a tyrant that we need to get rid of, and we're going to replace it with democracy. There was a memorandum of understanding. We couldn't agree on every aspect, but at least for the big picture, there was a memorandum of understanding that stipulated, because we knew at that time that who is going to be the flag bearer was the one that derailed us going all the way back to 2006. So a system was in place. Every party will bring 70 delegates. Everybody understood that. We agreed to that. We all also knew that there is going to be a transition government. You mentioned something about the constitution was 5 years. They knew that too. That's why they said if they win, changes will be made as far as the law is concerned. And when the change is made, after 3 years, elections are going to be held. Some people will say, unfortunately, after we won, people betrayed the very memorandum of understanding that they signed for. And that's where the problem is. It's not a question of plan, but a question of executing the plan. It became very convenient for parties, whether it's the United Democratic Party, whether it's the NRP, the Ahmad Bas, whether it's my party, whether it's even Halifa Saleh. Everyone started to see this as like, how am I going to exploit this situation to help my party? Do you think I'm wrong in my assessment, how I'm seeing it?
I don't think it's entirely wrong, but I do believe that you have mentioned what I said. We wanted Jammeh out, and that was the plan. But post Jammeh was something we never really.
That was not the plan. We wanted Jammeh out, yes, but we had a plan to get him out, yes. And I don't want you to gloss over the memorandum of understanding, because there was something that we signed to. There was something that talked about each party, how many delegates you're going to bring to the convention.
Yeah, but then that was all that was all during Jammeh's time, and that was all what was going to lead to Jammeh leaving. Mm-hmm. But after Jammeh, for example, the convention was pre 2016 December.
Correct.
So the having the 70 delegates was pre-election. Mm-hmm. Having parties come together but we didn't even speak about how we were going to run for parliamentary elections, for example, post Jammeh. Right. And that is where the problem started, because you don't expect me to build my party for 20, 30 years, being the main opposition party, competing and making sure that I was keeping government in check, and you're telling me that put members in the house but not under your banner. Where is the polity that we have been asking for? And this is why I mentioned equity. And I am glad that you mentioned that everybody was trying to exploit the coalition for their own gains.
Correct.
Because, for example, if you would blame and say the UDP had done something, but there were other parties who people had held at high regard who were also there for their own interests. And we're looking at ways of making sure that they found themselves as a marching order with the UDP. And
Right.
every part, and like you, and I am happy also you mentioned that having a flag bearer for the coalition in Gambia, even during NAD or even
Has always
pre-NAD,
been yes.
has been the issue. Why is it that we cannot accept the fact that we all cannot be major parties? And it's fine. There are parties in the world that don't even want to be major parties. I've seen parties in countries, for example, Britain First, you talk about Nigel Farage today. He knows he's not a major party. He didn't compete in every aspect of the United Kingdom. He competed in places he knew he would win because he knew this is where his strength lies. For example, you talk about when you go to Nigeria, the APC we have today was a collaboration of ADC, which was a Yoruba party led by Tinubu, the current president, and Muhammad Buhari had his own party in the north. They knew that their strengths, or for example, when you talk about Kankwaso's movement, NNPC today, they didn't win any other place, and they didn't campaign any other place. They campaigned in Kano because they knew that is where their strength lies.
Correct.
There's nothing wrong in political parties knowing that this is where, I'm not a national party. I'm a regional party, for example. Today, we're seeing it in the Gambia with NAT, which is the Noto Alliance. They don't compete anywhere else. They compete in Fonyi because they know that is where their strength lies. But it would be rather unfair to tell me that, okay, for example, let's say the Green Party in the US and the Democratic Party are at the same pedestal. It's not the same. So this is why I made mention that we had treated parties unfairly. Because why? Because we knew that we were in a desperate situation. And this is where I also mentioned sincerity. What all you have mentioned was pre-December December 1st.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. It was obviously it was pre-2016, but there was a plan in place. These political parties were meeting because we all understand. You see, you are absolutely right. You kept talking about the big party and that anywhere you go, any coalition has to be a party-led for it to be viable and credible. We've tried that going all the way back to 2000, actually going all the way back past 1996. It never worked. It was a problem. The 2001 election, you could say there was a party-led coalition, but it wasn't able to succeed when PPP basically backed the United Democratic Party. It did not work. When we came in 2006, it became apparent that, look, the only way this guy can be removed, if we can come together under one banner, forget about our differences, get rid of him, and bring about the democracy that we all want. Something was put in place. Something. Now, you can call it, was it fair? Was it sincere? But at the end of the day, people signed on the dotted line because we had to get rid of the man. What happened, though, they never recognize or respect what was signed. Ahmad Ba was basically saying, Anafunko sign. All of a sudden, amnesia. So what I'm saying is, the coalition failed because there was betrayal, and it was that betrayal.
But then that
betrayal that we continue to nurture up till today.
But Mr. Jang,
years, the man is now sitting for 20 years. I'm not from Dore, Kemo. I'm not
Mr. Jang, why the point Bumala Munanyoti accountable is because we were not able to show anything definitive. We were all basing this on moral issues. There was nothing binding me, and that is my point.
But bro, how are you going to tell them? How are you going to do that?
Yeah, but that is the problem.
No, tell me realistically, what is there that these people could have done to hold these people accountable? If somebody decided, you know what, everything that I sign on the dotted line, I don't really respect it, there's nothing you can do about it. Because like you said, we have a constitution that says the term is 5 years. Lulu, you can't, there's nothing you can do except
exactly. So exactly. So Lulu is my point. So we all knew things like that, but then we still went on to say, okay, Nakis have 3 years. Man, I believe in a pre-coalition agreement, Bobu, for a problem in Dori. And I will continue to say that, man, I believe we could have done a better job in organizing the coalition 2016. Yes, possibly Nyun, we were on the ground, but we also had ears, if I'd say, for decisions were being made. because I do remember, sir, how it was difficult to get Aïssatou Touré on the, on the team. I do remember how Bunde Messi Mama Kande for Mujan coalition. Remember now Wahimwa.
Yes.
So understand that. So we were part and parcel of the Mansi Convention, we man for one.
Yes.
Understand that? And
Yes.
I can tell you, for example, a lot of people who voted at that convention came from one or two parties. The political parties are want to fit in delegates for that area. Well, hanga. So you definitely you know, and more than Manila, everything we signed on those dotted lines was what will prepare us for December 1st. But it was nothing about what we would do after December 1st. Because even after December 1st, election came for parliamentary election. At that time, then Dorondiwa, land lenyo fan lenyo dem, ak fan lenyo. And man, that day, man, I stand to the position being a UDP jail. Nikon sunja fudon lulu. What would we have done if Baro Buhamnala Dore be facing members of parliament? We couldn't hold them accountable. And kuneka moy them because caucus do am. They were all going to be independent members of parliament, and whoever could have done whatever you want. So Nico UDP and all parties they know day. Because then though I'm saying President Barrow would have made this country a one-party state. So more than Manelane, we didn't have a plan post 2020, post December 1st. Every plan that was written on that agreement, l'union def leading to that election. But soon we l'union def amun lolo. The only thing we had was a campaign promise, civil service reform, security sector reform, restructuring of economics, because the economy, low regulation campaign on the street. But even Bobu said there was no manifesto for one nakalan ko defe. More than Manila amun plan. So we were just campaigning for it.
Let my man come in. But one thing though we can all agree to, plan or no plan, thank God we got rid of the tyrant.
Oh yeah. And Mandamade was Lolo Sane, even some time ago, because Mike is on just the anniversary of the two police officers who were shot. And I remember during that time, Suma Bena had my boy Mandama regret voting for Barrow. Man, I go, man, no matter what, no matter how they can be, man, I would never regret voting Jame out.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. Brother Maron.
Kemo, thank you very much. I'm gonna ask you because I saw a lot of comments, and I told you you're gonna be on the hot seat today. So we got to get this going now. We have to get this knocked out today, big time. So, what do you have to say to this? Because you mentioned something here very, very critical. The 3 years plan or no plan, 3 years versus 5 years. And I've seen there was a plan in place, but UDP betrayed the coalition. Kemo, is it true that UDP betrayed the coalition? And, we have the courts. The only person who could have honored that 5 years was Barrow. But there were other members too within the coalition who could, if he did not honor the 5 year, 3 years, they could take the court. So what I'm asking you is it true? And what is your response to that allegation saying that UDP betrayed the coalition?
I think it goes back to what I was saying, that everybody had their interest getting into 2016. And it was up to us to put those interests aside to be able to push the ideas that we want. But why is it that nobody says that Doi betrayed the coalition because Doi failed to take a position in cabinet? Don't we think that we would have needed their expertise in cabinet to help and support steer the executive? Granted, people will say, okay, they took legislative positions. And yes, that's fine. That is also another valuable arm of government. But nobody has raised the issue why Lutah Lolo Amu. Going further, I don't believe the UDP betrayed the coalition. The UDP had put its position forward like every political party would put its position forward of what they wanted to do and how they wanted the coalition run. This is why, as I said, if we had a documentation that said how the coalition was going to run, we wouldn't have found ourselves in that position. But because everybody was let to do whatever they wanted at their free will, some were saying that we should go into the parliamentary elections the way we wanted. Some were saying that no, them through party tactical alliance. Some were saying that, okay, so everything was disjointed, and people did what they wanted to do. And I believe a lot of times people say the UDP, this was a UDP government. I asked the question, was it a UDP government when we only had 3 people or 3 principals in cabinet? When PPP, for example, had 2 people in cabinet. So if people are going to be honest to ourselves, nobody can tell you how will the parliamentary election determine a betrayal of the coalition 2016. Nobody can give you this answer. We just say, well, UDP wanted to go, on their own. And yes, granted, even if we had to repeat the election today, I would support that position that the party took to make sure that we had, our members in parliament, and we had our caucus, and we could control our caucus, because then you could hold people accountable. But imagine, like I said, if we had to go into that parliamentary election as independent candidates, and what would we have been able to achieve? Nothing, absolutely. So for me, I still hold on to the position that the UDP did not betray the coalition. It was a single individual who wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he did it. And this is why we are in the predicament we are today. It has nothing to do with the UDP, but rather President Barrow not upholding his position and doing whatever he wanted to do. And the UDP cannot be blamed for that.
Okay, thank you, Kemo. But now, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. So, but Kemo, I think the reason why a lot of folks are saying UDP betray the coalition, and because Barrow was a byproduct of UDP, he emanated from the party of UDP, and one of the key was majority, say, yes, you're correct that there was only 3 ministries from UDP, granted. But how were the appointments done? And you have more information, because we need to shed lights on these things, and where the pitfalls are, we need to acknowledge them and learn from them, and hopefully we apply them in the future. That way we don't have to, because you mentioned something that I totally and wholly agree with you. The issues that we're dealing with today, say when the coalition came into government, there were issues that could have been tackled on in parliament and all that, but they did not. It did not happen. Why? And if he had to do a major course correction from your vantage point, what will that be?
I do believe that, like I mentioned, from 2017, we've heard President Barrow himself saying that he had meetings with Fabakary Tombong Jatta, where Fabakary Tombong Jatta had told him that if you want us to work together, you have to sack the likes of Ousainou Darboe and Amadou Sane. We've also seen how within the coalition government, we saw how the betrayal within started from an earlier stage. And we have seen everything. And, the biggest misconception is that people have that once President Barrow came into government, all he did was appoint members of the UDP. This is the greatest fallacy I've ever heard, because governments are continuations. People that have been in government in Jammeh's time are still the people that are in government. They're the ones heading they are the ones heading the departments. They're the ones, directors in our offices, and they're the ones, who are still working. So the biggest misconception, and it is something that has been pushed for the longest of time by oppositions to the UDP, is that Darboe made sure that UDP members were people in government. And I can tell you that even Darboe's family members, some of them were angry with him because he did not appoint them in government. And I've seen people who have left the UDP and are members of Darboe's family because of issues like that. So I think that's a big misconception. And when you talk about, and when you counter that point, what they come up with is okay. Let us look at the foreign service. Foreign service, again, Darboe does not make appointments. These appointments go through PMO, and PMO finds Gambians who are worthy to work in foreign service, and then they appoint them to. So again, it is the central government and not the UDP who is appointing these individuals. So for me, I keep saying that I do believe that most of the time, we just try to find excuses and we try to find people to blame for most of the issues that we're faced with, rather than tackling most of our issues head on. Going further, where my position will always be that once we are able to build strong institutions, we will be able to fight most of the problems that we're faced with today. The reason why today we're talking about not having a parliament that can hold the president to account is because we don't have very strong institutions. The reason today people don't have faith in the judiciary is because we don't have strong institutions. Today, for example, America didn't go through a dictatorship because they were able to build institutions that could protect the rights and liberties of the people. We have seen it just happen in Senegal also, where institutions have been in play and we have seen the results that they can give. Now, these are partisan issues and people are going to have different opinions based on their biases. But for me, this has always been my position, that the buck stops with President Adama Barrow, and President Adama Barrow should be held accountable for his actions. So if we are trying to find a scapegoat and we want to blame the UDP, that's completely fine. But it will be a great disservice to move the goalpost and blame the UDP for President Adama Barrow's actions.
Thank you, Kemo. Go ahead, Musa.
Kemo, look, I mean, you're making good arguments, and I really do respect that. I'm just going to deal with this question, and then we can head on to the what's happening at KMC. And you mentioned the tactical alliance just after the presidential elections. We all know, I mean, going back, there was always this argument. I mean, process. How do you choose a flag bearer? How do you? That has always been the problem, going all the way back to 2006. We were able to take care of that process by basically saying, you know what? Let's each party bring 70 delegates, because we wanted to make sure that no party has a monopoly. Remember, we were under a dictatorship. We wanted to get rid of that and bring in a new template. So to do that, people thought that equitability is important. And we all know African politics, incumbency means a lot. So we said, let the president run under an independent ticket so that one single party do an advantage over the other, which I think is reasonable. And it worked. And it ended up the biggest party actually having their candidate in place. The only thing that mattered was the process itself. When it came to the National Assembly, the argument is, like you said, because I remember even during the time of NAD, when we all ran during those by-elections, the candidate from Bakau was a UDP candidate, but just ran on the NAD. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a, even though it was a UDP
that was Dudu Kasajata.
Yes, and then in NRP, this was Ahmad Ba, also an NRP candidate, ran on the NAD. So there was no party identification per se, because we didn't want any party to have a leg up. So what people were saying, okay, for the National Assembly, let's have Khalifa Saleh run as an independent, not as a DOI candidate. Most people knew that most likely Khalifa Saleh would be the one chosen. If you go to Central Badibu, or if you go to some of these other constituencies, or Bakau, for instance, most likely it would have been a UDP candidate, but would only run under an independent candidate, because we wanted to make sure that let's start afresh. We're all independent, go into that National Assembly, make the changes that needs to be made, and put our democracy on a footing that all the parties will compete. United Democratic Party said, hell no, we're not going to do that, because if we do that, we're going to kill our party. And I think that's where the argument is. It wasn't so one can say the fairness of it or the lack of fairness of it, but that was the reality. It could have worked. You have a good number of people in the National Assembly, but it's not like our life is changing. Give me a break.
And I think that is, for example, I keep saying that, and I keep saying that even if, for example, a UDP government comes in, it's not going to stop you from eating your super kanja and your chew, because I mean that is the reality that we live with. So for me, I've always said that, and I continue to say that convention itself and trying to form an equality is where we had it wrong. And this is not a popular opinion, but I believe that we have to look at equity rather than equality. And if we were going to look at equity, it was what can each party bring onto the table, and we were supposed to.
You don't want to a coalition.
Why for problem be no, I'm not missing it. Because what I am saying is that
that's what
for problem be no.
So
which is understandable.
If we were to repeat the same problem, we will still be dealing with Jame.
Which is understandable. That is where we're having the problem if you are not ready to give people their due. Because li foog ñu accept lolu duñ mëna em.
What do you mean?
I mean, you cannot deny the fact that the United Democratic Party is the biggest in the country.
But they ended up having their candidate to be the presidential candidate. Don't you see how it worked out? I think we missed Mr. Bojang there for a second.
Hello?
Yes. Kemo. Kemo Yangfa, I know it's frustrating. Kemo.
Hello?
Yes. You there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Are you hearing?
Right. Yeah, I can hear you now. No, Lima, can you hear me?
Sorry, give me a minute.
There,
let me just.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Kind of coming in and out a little bit.
Hello?
Yes, Kemo.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. We have to, yeah.
Hold on. Kemo, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
No,
That's why, but I can hear you guys.
We have to pivot to KMC, but we
no,
can all agree.
But you ask him a question, he has the right to respond.
Right,
so give him opportunity to respond to your question about equity and equality. I think it's very, very fundamental. That's why you invited him here.
Yeah, so
you have the right to ask the question, but he has the right to answer the question.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so from Mr. Young, man, I think the Fofuleng Amon problem because other parties were not ready to accept the reality on the ground. And I think we had the issue. Granted, UDP compromised. And I think a lot of props need to be given to the party for that. But people seem to feel, okay, well, what the hell, sorry for my language. Correct. I think that's a big props finger UDP because they were ready to subdue and compromise for the Kabimuna, free from dictatorship.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we had compromise in the convention, and gladly, it went well. Coming to the yes, it went well. So coming to the parliamentary elections, I felt it was very unfair for parties that will not be able to compete. Asking parties, they have built a foundation in constituencies. They have been able to fund their activities in those constituencies, to not put up candidates under that party's banner and to put up candidates under an independent banner. Granted, it could have worked, but there were high, and with the way things have turned out in 2018, 2019, I think the UDP did the best thing not to go in that parliamentary election and putting up independent candidates. Because even with our people, we saw how we lost 8 members. So imagine if none of those members were held accountable or could tie their send position to the UDP or any other party. It would have been easy for them to all support Barrow and say, okay, we are all coalition members of parliament. We are not members of parliament on any party. So no party can tell us what to do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can beat a dead horse. I mean, but there are always going to be these differences, these arguments. What was the best way to do this? Now, if you're talking about 2020 hindsight, I don't think it would have been a bad idea because you're talking about if United Democratic Party is a bigger party, it doesn't matter whether they run under an independent banner or they run under their party banner. Because at the end of the day, there's always going to be politics after that. And when each party would go on its own side, now we have an even playing field. Like I said, incumbency matter. There's a reason why NPP, why all of a sudden APRC has become, nobody is even talking about them, and NPP, a brand new party, nothing is different, it's way up there. It's because of the incumbency. But again,
not just that, I think we then they oversimplify that, and I think I keep hearing things like that, and I think it all comes down to Lumalawa. We have not, and I know you're in the long run, you guys would ask me a question on that, but I'd like to say that we oversimplify these things, and I think it requires an anthropologist approach, but it also requires a very detailed approach to how we need to look at how societies evolve, and political parties are societies, and we need to look at them as such, because you have a lot of different people with different characters in one organization, right? But what we have not done, and like I mentioned earlier, is that we keep the PPP died after Sadauda.
Yes.
Like Ronald.
Yes.
The NCP died after Sharif Mustafa.
Yes.
The APRC died after Yahya Jammeh.
Absolutely.
It is not just they have lost power. It's because they didn't build a political party. They built a movement.
Power has a lot to losing power has
no. I agree. But for example, in contrast to other political parties from developed countries that have been able to build their polity.
Right.
Why is it that every election that comes in the United States, both the Democrats and the Republicans have a chance of winning? Mm-hmm. Why is it that every election that comes in the United Kingdom, both the Conservative and the Labour Party has a chance of winning?
It's a different political structure. I mean, they have a two.
Because these. But you have other parties in both America and England. But the point I'm trying to put across is that these countries have built their polity for over years and have built institutions. The Republican Party has been here for hundreds of years. Right. The Democratic Party has been here for hundreds of years. Yes. It's the same thing in England. It's the same thing in other countries. Right. We have not been able to build that. So it's not just about losing power, but it's about making sure that you are investing in transition. It's about making sure that you are investing in the leadership of your youth crop. It's about you are investing in the party itself as a secretariat and as an organization. And I believe that to some extent, this is why a lot of our parties die out and they don't leave. That's
the same argument that NPP is making of building their regional building. They want to make sure that the party will survive after Barrow. But we'll see, because most people will tell you if Barrow is gone, there won't be NPP left. But anyway, I want to shift a little bit. I want to shift back to KMC. Sorry. Bro, this is your second term as a councillor.
Yes.
I mean, you were elected at the same time Barrow was elected to the presidency. And, I kind of like KMC. And sometimes I get a lot of flack on that. So, and the question is always, you guys have been there almost the same time, 7-8 years?
Yes, we came in 2018. So,
2018.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, because people will always confront me with that, what have they done that basically impacted the lives of the average KMC? Whether it was during the time of, the man that just passed away,
Yankuba
Koli. And people would say, not a whole lot of difference. What say you to that? That, look, these people is all talk. They can't really show you the beef. They'll tell you about the Bali project, but that's where it ends. What say you to that? What is that you guys have done differently, that one can look at and say, you know what? If these people were to come to power, everything will change. What say you to that?
So I like to say that one of the biggest ways you could tell a UDP government or how we are going to function is looking at our area councils. And I think the main idea that we have given a definition to what local government is in Gambia alone is success, in my opinion. We have not been the best, and there's still much more work to be done based on the challenges that we're faced with. But personally, after my time as a councillor in KMC, I can leave and look back and say that I am proud of what I have been able to achieve. For example, today, the reason why there's an argument of the Mbalit project is because there is a project. If there was not a project, we will not be talking about the Mbalit project. For the first time in the history of Kanifing Municipal Council, people are saying that their taxes are reflecting. Is the Mbalit project, excellent? No, it's not. It has its shortcomings. But have we been able to deliver? I believe we have been able to do so. And a lot of times people misunderstand these things. The Mbalit project is not a profit-making project, but it's a service delivery project. And we have been able to at least come up with a project that is dealing with waste collection. And also, when you talk about the employment that the Mbalit project has also been able to create, is that 172 young people within the KMC have benefited from employment as janitors, have benefited through employment as drivers, and also ticket sellers. You talk about even waste management, not just Mbalit project. Today, it is during our time that the backwater dump site have been fenced. It is during our time that today, that even though fires are occurring, it is not as much as it used to occur, because we have built boreholes at the backwater dump site to act as fire hydrants and also other things. And for me, I am happy that people are demanding, because it means that people are at least seeing progress. Before, nobody really demanded because there was no hope that you would even get anything. So for me, I believe that we have come a long way, and that is just one of them. You talk about the KEP project, for example, where we got 180 million from the European Union. During my first term as a councillor, we had the mayor's store. And during the mayor's store, as a youth representative, I had discussions with young people within the municipality, and they came up with issues of recreational facilities. And I am happy to say that during my time as a youth representative, I accompanied the mayor to Peterborough City Council, where we had a twinning and were able to benefit from this 180 million to build 8 parks within the municipality of Kanifing. Bakau is one of them. Kotu, we just launched 2 weeks ago. Last week, we launched the Bundung. I opened the Bundung one. We opened the Kotu one. We've also opened the Afri Park, which is a basketball court, and other recreational facilities within the KMC. We have opened 7, and Talinding also is about to be opened. So we have been able to provide recreational facilities for young people and adults within the Kanifing Municipal Council. So to say that we have not been able to do anything, I think we'll be malicious. We have also been able to plant 190,000 trees, but mostly mangroves, to be able to support the fish production of KMC or the Gambia at large. Considering that we know what the Chinese companies have done with the fisheries department by overfishing and other things, we have built or we have planted mangrove trees along the swamps of the River Gambia, especially around KMC, so as to provide a place for where fishes can lay eggs. You talk about the Waste Aid project also, where we have been able to build markets. For example, most of the sheds in Talinding have transformed into markets. One is Marseille Yafatunjai, which is which through Mbolo Association we have been able to build markets. We have done the Latrikunda Savigi expansion. We have also worked on building more canteens for young people within the KMC and the general public. We are also currently working on expansion of the Serekunda market, because we have seen that we have a shortage of spaces. You talk about road expansions also. One is Latkumba Low Road. It was fully funded by the KMC. You talk about Bakau Marina School Road and the Bakau Newtown Road that goes through MRC. It was in collaboration with GAMWorks that we were able to do that. The Latrikunda Willingara Road also was through a partnership with GAMWorks. Kololi Manjaya Road was also funded through a partnership with GAMWorks. You talk about also annually we also rehabilitate roads that are inter-town, inter-village roads by putting gravel on it and also having graders to grade it. So you talk about the rehabilitation and expansion of health facilities also. The Bundum Maternity Hospital has also been expanded through our partnership with GAMWorks. The Ibotan Community Center, which didn't function, now functions. You talk about the Talinding Clinic also has begun taking patients. Currently, myself, I am working on a project where we're expecting 65 hospital beds from the Gambia Swiss chapter. We are working on those things. You talk about the market expansions also, Larikunda Sabiji market. You talk about Larikunda German, rehabilitation market, the Bakau rehabilitation market, and a lot of other, the Marsengelo, Talinding Tali market, Kotu Kware market, are all markets that we have worked on. It's also during our time that we have worked on addressing with GIS. These are innovative ways that can also propel development. In fact, that was the way that we knew that we had 38,000 households within KMC, and that we should be able to, beat this amount of rates and taxes if people pay their rates and taxes. Absolutely. You talk about the youth employment also. We were the first council who came up with a youth empowerment fund of giving $20 million to youth entrepreneurs. During COVID also, we gave out $1 million in cash to young people who had innovative ideas on how to continue social life, even during the era of COVID. You talk about the the UK. We also worked with the United Kingdom government through the High Commission here and IOM, where we gave 200 young people $150,000 each who were entrepreneurs. We also launched the Tuk Tuk project, which is the Bachka project, and most of these projects are launched as the youth representative within KMC. And also, you talk about the community centers we have rehabilitated. The Kotu Community Center is one that we have rehabilitated through partnership with Studio 71 and Babu Sise, who is a Hollywood actor. The place is being used to train young people on performing arts. We have also rehabilitated the Talinding Community Center, where women are being taught to sew and other fashion designing skills. The Bakau Community Center is still being built. So these are just things I can get off, speak about off head. Absolutely. And this is different from the financial support we give, the 91 balls we gave during the last Navetan to all the zones in KMC, the support we give to other young people, artists and other people. So for people to say we haven't done a lot, I mean, I am happy that the ambition of Gambians has gone up and they are demanding. And I think that's a good thing. But I think it would be dishonest to say that the Talib Bensouda-led administration hasn't done anything. And also currently we are about to open the biggest library ever built in this country, which is built by the KMC. And we hope that it will open doors for a lot of young people to expand, because we know how much library sectors growing up. Like I mentioned, I made best use of libraries growing up, and I think it was one of the best things that happened to me. We want to provide that opportunity for other young people within the municipality of Kanifing.
So the youths are happy, like Brother Sabali would say.
I mean,
go ahead, go ahead, Sariang. That was a litany of definitely.
Kemo, thank you very much for highlighting, for answering the questions. Furthermore, I wanted to press on a few things here on the part of a UDP. Now, UDP as a political party, of course, it's not going to be immune to criticism. When I listen to Kemo Bojang speaking and how when people talk about UDP as a party, they don't associate the party with the Kemo Bojangs. They don't associate the party with the Talib Bensoudas, the Almame Funding Tals, and I can go on the Karamba Toures and all this. People tend to associate the party with some of the outliers. And I'm not naive. I understand every party has outliers who will say stuff that is not in line with the party. But obviously, there is a gap, because whenever you talk about UDP, the first thing is they mention folks who are outliers. They mention about UDP attack people, insult people. UDP cannot argue intellectually. And I want you, and the most important thing that troubles me is UDP and MPP is 6 and 9. As a young, vibrant politician, I want you unequivocally help us to address these issues. And if there is a gap in terms of getting the message, why the voices of those people that they continue to associate UDP with are louder on social media and everything than the folks who would, if you listen to you, Kemo got the idea and Kemo knows what's going on. How? And I want you got the flow, Kemo.
Yeah, I think human beings are biased in nature, and I think that's a totally fine perspective to have. And I believe that usually bad news makes more news than good news. But I think we have a responsibility as a party also. And I like to say this because it's more of self-accountability is the most righteous way of accountability, and that you cannot wait for people to hold you accountable so you can be held accountable. For me, I do believe that we have a minority online who are very loud, unfortunately, but they don't even make up 1% of the party's support base. Because I like to think that we on the ground and people who hold positions of leadership within the party should be seen as the face of the party. But unfortunately, like you mentioned, there's a minority on social media who continue to propel some of these positions. But in every grand association you go to, or in any grand organization, you're always going to have the different sets of people. But I like to also say that you find them everywhere. But what we have been able to do is that we are trying to rebrand the party, and I believe that since 1996, the UDP has faced one of the biggest challenges as a political party than any party in this country or in the sub-region. We faced a dictator where we really had very limited access to communication, because we had very limited number of radios in the Gambia. We had one TV station. Social media was not, a big player back then. So Jammeh did a good job in branding the UDP as, as a hostile party, as a party that is very, not open to criticism. And I think, for example, you ask my generation, for example, Lanmota Blagulo Usaino Dabo. They tell you, Pabu Bukai. But nobody can really tell you why they don't like Usaino Dabo. So it's an issue of perception. It's an issue of something you've been hearing over and over, and then it has become a truth to you, even if it's not the truth. But also, we have to be fair to people and understand that if people have been on the defensive for so long, it takes time for them to be able to shift. And so this, I am saying that because the supporters of UDP have been the most persecuted. They have been the most beaten up. They have been the best. They have been the ones who have given life. They have given property. They have served prison terms. So, and against a dictatorship, you were always in defensive mode. Now we are transitioning into becoming sort of a government in waiting, and we are doing all we can to rebrand the party and be able to put the party where it needs to be. And like you said, I don't think I am different from any supporter of the United Democratic Party, because I believe I embody what the United Democratic Party stands for. So if somebody out there positions themselves otherwise, they don't reflect what the UDP stands for. If you see Kemo Bojang, you see the UDP. If you see Rahim Malik Low, you see the UDP. If you see Sehu Kamara, you see the UDP. You see Almami Funding Tal, you see the UDP. You see Hussein Odabo, that is what the UDP is all about. And for me, I've continued to say that while it is true that we have a minority that we need to work on, but I also believe that all political parties have the same thing. Because, for example, I have had more abuse and more disrespect from supporters of PDIS. But that doesn't mean that I am going to term every member of, even Mr. Jang, when you wrote up my picture and post yesterday, I saw one of your most respected young people calling me a colonial chief. I'm not sure whether you saw that comment, but they make fun of me and even the way I dress. But I am a decolonized African. I wear the things that reflect my identity. I don't wear a suit, but I have never called anyone a colonized, African. But these are the issues, for example. But I think what happens is that we have found ourselves in a generation where there's no accountability, because everybody can sit in their houses, write whatever they want or say whatever they want, and they won't be held accountable because there's no repercussion to your action. But the UDP is working on rebranding. The UDP is working on having, a code of conduct. and be able to control. But again, we are a mass party. We are not a cadre party, or a cadre party like PDIS. We have a majority, of supporters are out there, and these are the people that put their money, they put their their resources and time, into running of the party. So we give them the position to express themselves. Valid people will see the expression differently, and we're trying to work on that. But I do believe that the names you have mentioned here, Mr. Marong, are the real representatives of what our party stands for.
Thank you, Kemo. By the way, I saw that comment, and what I did was I just shake my head, and it's true.
Exactly.
Nobody would go against those type of comments, but it is becoming a conventional wisdom that is acceptable for someone to say that. So it's true, and you find these outliers on every party. I agree.
Exactly, it's everywhere.
But I don't want because I did not give any relevance to that comment. I responded to one person, but I did not respond to that for best reason to me, because I don't want to go into the trenches. So, but so you've highlighted quite an achievement at KMC, and you know what? Those achievements cannot be out there, or for you to sit on this platform today and highlight that with confidence without the leadership of someone.
Yeah.
And we know the mayor of KMC, Talib Ahmed Bensouda. Now, obviously, you work with him, you are close to him, with other people within the KMC. What would you have, or what would you say about his leadership style, his character? Because those matters as a leader. And you both are young folks within the UDP, but you guys carried also the spotlight, and also Landing is there, Yankuba is there, but KMC, you can speak for KMC. What are some of the qualities that he brings to the table?
I think I wrote a post last year whilst I was in Washington, because I was there for the McCain Fellowship. So I'm also a McCain Fellow. So I was at the McCain, the IRI, the International Republican Institute, for a few, for some time on my fellowship. And I had a meeting with a think tank that had a Gambian that worked there. And during our meeting, he asked me about leadership, especially young people, youth leadership in Gambian politics. And my position has always been that Talib is the greatest leader our generation is blessed to have. This can be a biased position based on my relationship with him, because I don't just see him as a boss per se. He's someone that I think is my brother now because of how much we have shared and what we have worked with. But it also shows that where he comes from, we can build leaders like that. That, the UDP has opened up doors for a lot of young people as leaders. But for example, Talib Ahmed Bensouda is an example of his own. And his leadership style has always been an all-inclusive position. And he doesn't look at, when you come to KMC, you don't know who is UDP, who is APRC, or who is NPP. In fact, one of the closest guys to him, who is Babakar Mansali, is the councillor for APRC. And in fact, Mansali had issues with his party because of his proximity to Talib. And for example, today you're seeing people like Nene Frida Gomez, who is not a member of our party and is one of the closest councillors to Talib. I believe that he has shown what his leadership capabilities are as a young person, and he has been able to deliver to the people of Cardiff Municipal Council. And I believe that where that has come from, there's more that would come. There's more to offer, and it's not just Talib. For example, you have also seen what Yankuba has done in Brikama, and you've seen what Rohi has done in Banjul. And for me, Landing stands out, because knowing the challenges of being a rural area council and what Landing has been able to achieve, for me, is unprecedented. And I think he doesn't get the props he deserves, because he is not out there on social media and everything. But the reason why he was able to return back and become a chairman in the rural areas where the UDP won shows that the people have confidence and the people have trust in him. So Talib went through the Usain Dabo school of thought, I like to say, and he has been able to show that this is what the mentees of Usain Dabo can deliver. And for example, if people say, yeah, but Dabo, Barrow comes from your party, I'm like, yeah, but Talib comes from our party. Rohi comes from our party. Landing comes from our party. Yakumba came from our party. But you never talk about those ones. So I say that it's more so a position of convenience. And a lot of times, it just comes from a position of bias. But like Talib, we have thousands of young people within the UDP who can deliver. But like I said, he's a blessing to our generation, and he's the greatest leader our generation has produced in political leadership in the country, in my opinion.
Thank you, Kemo. Go ahead, Musa.
Thank you very much, Kemo. I want to talk a little bit about the Constitution, because now, I mean, if there is one issue that is out there, this is something that we definitely need to discuss, because it's absolutely important. If there is one thing that we all believe to get rid of Jammeh was hopefully we would have a new constitution.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, we are where we are. Unfortunately, we can relitigate what happened. The 2020 draft, what I would call the People's Constitution, was basically rejected and railroaded by no other than President Barrow, as far as I'm concerned. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and you're not wrong.
We're having another stab at it. There is this 2024 draft. A lot of problems, a lot of misgivings, people saying that, why couldn't we bring the 2020 draft? Well, it is what it is. We don't have the luxury to deal with the 2020 draft. If you were to talk to your party, that we definitely do not want to go into 2026 under the 1997 Constitution. Sometimes people accuse me of saying, well, you know what? I mean, we shouldn't be so desperate to get rid of the 1997 Constitution to just replace it with anything. And I'm not talking about anything. If we can have a 2024 draft that has a term limit of 10 years, I like that. I think that is important. If I have a draft that would at least talk about all the rights that are in it, I like that. There are things that I don't like. If we are going to have a constitution that would at least absolute majority, that you cannot win without 51%, I like that. And as an opposition, I see that as a possibility of changing the, oh my God, is he gone? Maybe I talk too much.
No, I'm back.
Yes. So, in other words,
yeah.
I have my reservations, Kemo. There are things that I do not like. And I agree with all this confirmation about ministers. I like all of that. But there are things that I say that maybe, what is there that we can do to compromise? I mean, I asked the question to Mr. Dabo when he was in Atlanta, and he made it very clear that, look, we won the 2020 draft. And I'm like, well, Mr. Dabo, what is there that can be done that at least we can compromise? What I'm getting is UDP's position is, look, without the 2020 draft, to hell with this 2024 draft. Am I reading it right, or do you see it differently?
I think first point of call is that the things you are saying that you would want to see in the 2024 draft and would accept it are the things that President Barrow doesn't want to see in it. So you would not see it in it. So I think it's more about understanding that you have the people's document and you have President Barrow's document. The people's 2020 constitutional draft and Barrow's 2024 constitutional draft. And I do believe that the UDP's stance has always been that we are for the people, and 116 million was spent on this document. And right. We went far and wide to consult Gambians, not just in the country, but in the diaspora and everywhere, where we wanted to listen to what they had to say and put it in this document that will reflect the basic rights and freedoms of everyone living in this country. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate that draft was killed because of the NPP's disregard for the Gambian people and their selfishness for one individual who is President Barrow.
I get that. We will just be beating a dead horse. We all know that.
No, wait. Let me finish.
I'm asking the question. I'm not going to allow you. Don't filibuster.
But you gotta let the man answer the question, though.
Nope.
You are not asking. You are not giving the opportunity to answer the question.
Let me ask my question, please.
No, but you are not letting him to ask his question.
I disagree. Totally. Wait for your turn. Let me ask
But you
my
are
question.
not letting him answer the question.
Let me ask my question the way I want
No,
to
but
ask
you
it.
are not.
Bro,
You are not letting him
allow
answer the
me.
question.
Allow me. Respect me. Let me ask
No,
my
I respect
question.
you, but you gotta respect the
Relax.
judge too.
Wait for your turn.
No, you gotta respect the judge too.
I respect the man. Allow me to. This is where I want to go. I don't want to talk about. We agree that the 2020 draft was hijacked by President Barrow. I said that. He's the one that we are not having it. I know that. So, Kemo, my point is this. What's done is done and cannot be undone. We are looking at the 2024 draft. Where is the compromise? There should be a compromise. Or should we just say, you know what? To hell with it.
Okay, so I just want to ask a question. Should 2.4 million people compromise for one individual?
No, it's not about it's not. I don't think we should.
No, but that's
what
it.
I'm saying
No,
is,
but that's it.
When it
No,
let me ask my question. Kemo,
yeah.
For me, this is bigger than Barrow. For me, this is absolutely bigger than Barrow. What I'm saying is a 2-term limit is something that the entire country agreed to, and it's in the 2024 draft. A 50+1, no one can win without absolute majority, is in the 2024 draft. There are other things that I don't like. The term limit, meaning Barrow will not be able to, where I will draw the red line, he will not be able to run in 2031. So my question to you is using the mechanism within the National Assembly, should we have compromises that at least we will have a new constitution other than 1997?
But then that has always been the position of the party. Like, take it to the parliament, unaltered, and let the committee deal with it.
Okay,
because
so you're open to that.
Yes. Because, no, but that has always been UDP's position. You know, a lot of people are like, well, UDP doesn't want to compromise. But what we have always said is that we are only going to compromise based on what the people say and want. We cannot compromise on our own accord, because this is a document that was built by the people for the people. Absolutely. We have never had a constitutional building process that was this extensive and this consultative. The reason everybody was in high anticipation of this document was because of the effort that went into it. Correct. So I continue to ask the question, should we compromise? Because the term limits you're talking about is in the 2020 draft.
I like that. I like the 2020 draft better.
Yeah, the 50+1 is in the 2020 draft.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the only position that we had issues with was the retrospective law, which was when will Barrow's term start. 2 was the issue of secularism. And also thirdly was the issue of citizenship. I think these were the biggest contentions between political parties at the time. And for me, I've continued to say that I am a representative of the people. And I have taken an oath to represent a section of society as a constituency.
Correct.
I will believe that whatever decisions I make should be reflective of what the people want. So in as much as we want to compromise, we cannot do it at the detriment of my future and the future of the people, of the children that are unborn. And I continue to ask the question, why can't President Barrow as a single individual compromise? Is President Barrow afraid that he'll lose the next election? So these are the positions that, I continue to ask. Why is it that we, 2.4 million, as per the new numbers that we got from GBOS, should compromise for one single individual? And nobody has been able to give me an answer, on these things. If there's compromise that needs to be done, we need to have the social contract in place. Then I believe the only person who should compromise in this position is President Adama Barrow, and not the Gambian people.
Absolutely. And I hope next time my co-panelists will allow me to ask my question where I want to take it, my style, the way I want to do it. You do you, let me do me. You do you, let me do me.
Hold on. I want him to answer the question. I think the question is for him, for the benefit of the viewers who are watching, to get a sense of that, not Musa interjecting every way of that.
I'm the one asking the question.
I don't have the problem. I don't have you to ask the question all you want.
That's what I want to hear.
Let the man answer the question. That's what I'm saying.
You do you, let me do me.
No, but you no problem.
That's fair.
No, but just let him answer the question.
Go ahead.
All right?
But that's not my style. I interject.
Okay,
politics.
I don't go round robin. But let me ask my question now. You are taking my time. It's on my time now. So let me answer that. Kemo. Kemo, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming up and putting up with Musa Gang. I warn you, I said
no, don't brand me. Kemo is my man.
Okay. But Kemo, here is the thing. I heard compromise.
Yeah.
And I heard you. You talk about the 2020 draft. And you talk about the people that you serve. And I understand where the man is coming. He's saying we can do this, but we've already done that, as you are highly articulated, right? And the way that things are going, this 2024 draft, it's a bad omen for every piece. They did a closed door consultation, and Dauda Jallo, the justice minister, came on Coffee Time and said basically how they drafted the retroactive clauses out. So meaning that the 10 years that Barrow is going to serve come 2026 will not count. At the time when they pass the constitution, the new constitution.
So it's like he's going to start afresh.
He's going to start fresh, and he's going to have 2 terms. Kemo, that's now, he knows, Musayan knows it, I know it, everyone watching this platform today knows this. Gambians don't want that. Gambians want the 2-term. If you serve, you did your 10 years, you are out,
and done.
Next person comes in, right? I listened to Dabo when he asked the question. I was in attendance as well, right? Dabo, what he said was very clear, what you are saying here today. Again, the person who needs to compromise, it's not UDP or GDC or APRC or NRP. The person who needs to compromise is President Barrow.
Exactly.
It needs to take every person to say enough of this, saying that we need to compromise for what? Kemo, what do you have to say in terms of everything that's been highlighted? And of course, some of the issues like the free education. Dr. could not answer that on Coffee Time. He was reflecting on whether Mr. Gomez is going to come and answer those questions. But I think they owe to the Gambian people. He said there was a massive consultation. A lot of parties came out, reboot that, including
UDP. Definitely.
Now, what do you see moving forward? How we could pass this and at least, not compromise for Barrow to entrench himself, because I think it's a mini dictatorship. He wants to impose himself upon Gambians. So I think, what do you see moving forward? I think the compromise part is very subjective, but what do you see the way forward on this?
I think Gayso wrote a statement not long ago and saying that the constitution will not pass if the 2 main political parties in the country do not collaborate. And that is the truth. Because even if the UDP didn't have 16 seats like we do now with our independent friends, because we have a few members in parliament who usually vote and align with the UDP's position most of the time. Even with 14 seats, the constitution wouldn't pass. So it is indeed in the hands of the 2 main political parties, which is the NPP coalition and the UDP. And for me, I think we are going to find ourselves in a stalemate until if we are able to work on something that is, doable. And now that is a question that, is on everyone's lip. What is doable at this point in time? Because indeed, all constitutions, they're good. You can't say you don't want the whole document. It doesn't make sense. Even in the 1997 constitution, I do believe that there are laws that are there that I support. And, for example, NPP supporters came up with the notion that, this constitution was highly voted from Kenya. Every constitution in this world has an inspiration. Even the American Constitution was inspired through the United Kingdom's constitution. So you cannot tell me that no constitution, because common laws are are all the same everywhere. So for me, I think it's gonna be a difficult one, but I don't see the Barrow draft, because I like to call it the Barrow draft constitution. I don't see it passing, because I don't think the UDP will compromise on it going through. What we have said is that even if compromise is going to be, the bottom line, we want it to go to the committee stage. We don't want any person to sit in their corner and change anything from the constitution. We wanted to come back to the committee, for example. When it comes to the House, it goes to the committee. Let the people learn, let the people speak to their representatives, and let the representatives reflect the position of the people in the streets on the document of the people. But you cannot have a compromise when the people who are supposed to be centered and the people who are the most important in this conversation are left out. And I think that is what Dauda Jallo and the NPP government has done, unfortunately.
All right, thank you, Kemo. So, Kemo, in terms of the composition, I think you quoted Mr. J. So here, but what do you think will be the way forward? I mean, definitely, even listening to Dauda Jallo, he confessed that they took some from the 1997 Constitution. Yeah. So we make a brouhaha about, we cannot lean on the 1997 Constitution. We cannot do this. We cannot do it. Now, obviously, the threshold is very, very high. And I'm a realist. And obviously, maybe we're not going to have a new Constitution.
Most likely.
Where all the parties stand. But now, how do you see the way forward? I mean, if we don't have a new Constitution, we're going to go by the simple majority. What would be the valuable formula moving forward?
And to be honest, and I think I've listened to Mr. Deng before, and he has mentioned that he does believe that the UDP is the only viable vehicle that can drive change in the Gambia come 2026. And if you read my writings in the past few months, my writings have always been about the unity of the opposition. And in fact, when I saw the debate between MC Cham and Alaji Kurang, I had written a statement to say that I would never debate a fellow opposition who is not part of the Barrow coalition. Because to me, it makes very little sense. I do understand when misinformations are put out there, we need to be able to, separate the grains from the chaff. But I do believe that our focus as an opposition needs to be how do we unite and how do we come together to usher in a new government. And for me, I think, like I mentioned, we need to compromise when it comes to that. And I believe that is where Mr. Jang's compromise should come in place, where we as oppositions come together and see how best do we push to have a progressive Gambia come 2026. Do I believe that the UDP has the might to change government? Yes, I do believe that we can do it alone. But do I think it would be better if everybody comes on board? I do believe that is best for the country. And I do believe that we need to be able to come together and see how best do we move forward. And, because it's only in Gambia, unfortunately, that the opposition fights another opposition. And I think, we're giving, the president a leeway in getting things done. And there are so many things that are wrong in this country today. And unfortunately, we are not even speaking about them. Just yesterday, 60 young people died, including 2 babies and 4 children. And this is a daily occurrence. Now it has occurred so much that it has just become a normal in the Gambia, unfortunately, that we don't even talk about the people we're losing, the young people we're losing on the Mediterranean Sea. We don't talk about the drug abuses that is ravaging, the country. We don't talk about the challenges, and we are so hell-bent on who did what, when, where, and why, and I think this has regressed us so much as a country. And for me, to answer Mr. Marong's question once more is that I do believe that even if we don't have a new constitution, if you listen to the tempo on the ground and then you listen to what the Gambian people are saying, I do believe the same way simple majority was able to remove Yahya Jammeh, we will be able to remove President Adam Barrow come 2026.
Thank you. Go ahead, Musa.
Kemo, and I hope my co-panelists will not filibuster me. Even though I still like him. Kemo, I have Pasamba always tease me and I'm an old man. He's not correct. I'm not. But I've seen a lot of elections. Yeah. And I like to consider myself a political realist. Lan mo muna hew ak lan mo munta hew. I've had some whether going back to 2001 when we lost the elections, then we went back and said, let's put together Save the Gambia Democracy Project. Coming back to 2006 when the whole thing disintegrated. And then, because we knew we were going to lose and we lost badly. 2011, we gave it another shot. The rest was history. So after going through all that, you should learn something from it. For me, the 1997 Constitution is a no-go area. Like you, I wish we could have the 2020 draft with its own imperfection, with all the imperfections that's in it. I get that, but at least we will have a new law of the land. And I think, I wish ne lolu more were on the hell, but lolu held. But I also believe that any constitution or anything that you do, whether it's in the National Assembly, whether it's in Congress, there is always going to be a compromise. And listening to you, you understand that, yes, Kiso said, in the absence of the UDP and the NPP collaborating and sitting down, because this is it's a political process, and then find a compromise, it's not going to happen, it's not going to pass. We all understand that. That is why when I'm itching and talking, there was something that I put on in coffee time, talking directly to the president, telling him why that needs to be done, and he should take the leading position, that they should come together and let's look at the document and let's find a common ground, things that we can agree upon. At least let's have a new constitution before 2026, whatever it takes. Whatever reservation that I have, we'll take care of it. Remember, back in 2020, the retroactive clause was basically the one that threw it out. If we were to agree to that crap, we wouldn't be talking about this. The man will not even be able to run in 2026. So you see, sometimes at the heat of the moment, we all get emotional. I get that. But let's make the compromise. Let's have the term limit in place. Make sure that Barrow doesn't run in 2031. We cannot say it to run 2026. To me, that's a no-go area. I'm just telling you what I think.
Yeah, no. I do understand your position. But Mr. Yang, you cannot afford Barrow to run in 2031. 31, I cannot, as a young person in the Gambia, afford President Barrow to win in 2026. So there's more at stake for me than anything.
Trust me, because I want to see change. I want to see that. Look, because for instance, 2026, I don't think we can have a compromise without him running in 2026. I heard what Yang said at that, and I'm going to come to that later on, that there's no way they're going to allow Barrow to run in 2026. To me, those are statements that I don't think it's going to help the situation. Now, whether it's political posturing, that's one more thing. But again, I want to come back. I want to see the National Assembly, like you said, go past the second reading, and let's make the necessary compromises that needs to be made. If that happens, and UDP endorse it, because if UDP doesn't endorse it, it's not going to pass. It's not possible. If NPP doesn't endorse it, it's not going to pass. So both parties have to endorse this thing, make the compromises, and let's take it to the people and have a new constitution. My question, though, do you think going into 2026, are we better off with 1997, 2020, 2024 draft as it is? Where do you think we are better off as an opposition to bring about change? That's my question to you.
So I think that is I think it's just going to put us in a very tight corner, and I believe that there's a lot. But I think it's just beyond having a new constitution, Mr. Jang. I think it's more of also being able to stick to our word as a people. Yeah. I think once we let this happen, it's not an emotional position that I am taking, but it's more of also a very strategic one. That we have had, as a country, we have been outrun and run over by our leaders for so long, and we have let them have positions that they want to have. Because we have always tried to be compromising and always tried to be strategic. That has backfired. I do believe that if we let President Barrow go and have his way, he has majority in parliament, don't forget that. And he will continue to amend the law as he wants it. And for me, I think we are not looking at that. And again, like I said, this is a guy you cannot trust. This is a guy that has promised so many things, and so I don't think we should give him even that arm's length to be able to have what he wants, because we have seen what he has been able to do, and I doubt, he's changed and he wouldn't change, and we're just going to put ourselves in a bigger problem if we let it go. So personally, for me, and I've continued to say that we are better off personally, apart from the term limit, and apart from issues of free education and other things that are social issues. But I'm a social democrat, and I like things that are looking out for welfare.
Correct.
There's not a lot of things that we can argue about. And for President Barrow, It has always been about the term limit for
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
In fact, that was why he made sure that the 2020 draft didn't pass.
Not passed.
So
Correct.
if we let him have this one and we say we are going to compromise, well, he's having his way all over again, and it's not
No,
going to
no.
be. It's going to be.
When I say compromise, though, I'm not saying the 2024 draft as it is. It's the 2024 draft with amendments that come with it. Some of the things that we cannot compromise. Absolutely. Let's sit down. Let's put it down. Let's look at it, and let's see how we can. I mean,
but then the government is not ready for that, because if they were ready for that, they would have consulted political parties and stakeholders before they brought the gazetted version. And I think, unfortunately, that's the government we are dealing with, and they are dishonest. They are a group of dishonest people who have no regard for the Gambian people.
All right, Kemo, I want to shift gears a little bit. I want to go to like you quoted me saying, I believe that the UDP at this juncture is the viable vehicle that can bring about change. I believe that yesterday, I believe that today. But within the UDP too, that very vehicle is in disarray. Now, some of you guys are saying, well, maybe not. It's not in disarray. It's a perception that is out there. But we're follow over politics. We read the tea leaves like you guys do. I listened to Lamin Mane on Coffee Time.
Yeah.
And this is what he said when Peter asked about this flag bearer come 2026. He said, all aspirants should forget about their own candidacy and come outright and just support Mr. Dabo's candidacy as the flag bearer. And that will put everything to bed so that the party can move on. The only reason why there is this jockeying and this camp is because, yes, we all know that there is going to be a process. That's the UDP position. There's a process that's going to happen. But Mr. Mane is saying, even though there's going to be a process, the process has already delivered us a candidate, and that candidate is Mr. Dabo. And all the aspirants, whether it's Talib Bensouda, whether it's Yankuba Dabo, whether it's Rohi Malik Low, and he actually did indicate that both Rohi and Yankuba, and I think the other Mane, they've already endorsed Mr. Dabo's candidacy. Now, what say you to that kind of blanket statement from an important person within the UDP? Do you agree with his assertion, or do you see it differently?
I don't think it's more of an having to agree or not. I think it's more of, like you mentioned, that the party has a process. And I believe we need to give kudos to Mr. Dabo, because the reason today we are even talking about succession and talking about multiple names is that he has been able to build an institution that has been able to give birth to young people that the country believes that can take up the mantle after him. And I think that is something that we need to thank him for, because all of us are offsprings, his political offsprings. But also, when you speak about aspirants, I want to know who are the aspirants, because I've never had any member of the UDP come out and say that they want to run for office. And Zadabo has also said this and said that in Spain, he mentioned and said he hasn't seen or had anyone who has said that they want to run for presidency. No, Mr. Yang, no, Suneke man, man, there are people who tell me that, even Mr. Dabo has said, man, I am a presidential material. Does it mean that, man, I am going to run for president? No.
We're not, and I get my co-panelists, please stay away. We're not talking about who is perceived. Mr. Dabo, yes, did say that. Mr. Dabo did say that Kamba could be a candidate. Pata PJ, and he talked about Kemo. I understand. I understand the deflection. But look, there is a reality within the party. There is this succession. People are saying, Mr. Dabo has been there for a long time. Some even say that the man cannot win, whether it's fair, whether it's not fair. The conversation is there, and people are thinking, with that viable vehicle, there is a need for something new and fresh. Clearly, people see Talib Bensouda as one of those aspirants. People see Yankuba as one of those aspirants. People see Rohi Malik Low as one of those aspirants. We're not just making this thing up. There's a reason why I didn't say Kemo, Bojang, Yotamidnak. And I'm not naive.
That's my point.
Just visit, what I'm saying is, do you think it is fair for Lamin Mane to go on a public, even though you guys have a process? He chose to say, look, the only reason why we have this problem is because these perceived aspirants, they haven't come out and saying, you know what, I'm not running and I endorse Mr. Dabo. Do you agree with that statement?
But that's my point. So the reason why today we have names is because Mr. Dabo has been able to build young people who can take up the party after him.
I get that. I get that.
Yes. No. Well, okay. So going forward, in 2018, I joined the national executive of the UDP. I was 21 years old. And the biggest misconception I've heard is that Mr. Dabo hasn't built a transition. And I think that is wrong. When you look at the national executive of the UDP from 2018 to 2022, you have seen that there has been a lot of changes. You have seen new and younger faces within the party. Change is a process. Change doesn't happen overnight. And Mr. Dabo has built this and it's taking its form. Uncle Lamin Mane has spoken his position, but I want to take the position of the party leader. And the party leader has said that we must wait for the process to take place before we speak about the issue of flag bearership. And the issue of flag bearership has to do with the secretariat, which is headed by the administrative secretary, and they have come up with a statement to say that we must put this conversation to rest until when the time is right. The party has a calendar we need to follow. And like I mentioned, I think this conversation itself, in as much as it's healthy, and it has shown that the UDP has been able to produce leaders for this country, I think it's a distraction to what is most important at this moment. And I've mentioned that is how do we tackle the problems that the country is faced with. And again, when we talk about aspirants, Rohi has never come out to say she wants to run for president. Talib has never come out to say he wants to run for president. Lamin Sane has never come out to say he wants to run for president. Bojang has never come out to say he wants to run for president. It is the people that they represent who have seen these leadership qualities in them and believe that they are they are capable of governing this country and leading this country where it was. And for me, I think another position, and I like to give kudos to Mr. Dabo again. This is the first time in his political history of this country that a political party is talking about transitioning. Since independence to date, no political party has changed leadership. I don't know whether you have noticed that. Be it PPP, be it NCP, be it UP, be it Muslim Congress, be it APRC, be it DOI. No political party has transitioned leadership. This is something new that it's a phenomenon we are witnessing, and I think we need to bask in its reality than try to make it sort of a confrontational position. And I think that we need to give props to Mr. Dabo for being able to give birth to political leaders that the country, is able to see leadership in.
Absolutely. Nobody would doubt that. Mr. Dabo should be given the kudos of his sacrifice and the way he's able to handle the party. We get all that. There was something else that Yankuba.
Can I ask
you
question?
My second question.
No. You asked
my friend.
You asked three questions. No, give me a second.
Kemo. Yeah, you see how this man treats me?
No. Musa.
Filibuster.
No, hold on a second.
Go ahead, my friend.
Three questions. Give me a chance to ask Kemo. We have to balance things a little bit.
All right, sir.
Right? Okay, so Kemo, you're a very intelligent man, and you're a young man, and I think you have a future in the party.
Yeah.
But we gotta talk about issues, especially this flag bearer issue. It's been a contention. We all know that. You know that. I know that. And you probably know more information than I do. But here's the thing. I also listened to Mr. Mane on Coffee Time.
Yeah.
And before that, they talk about, he lambast Barrow about the term limit. We're not going to accept the 10 years. He said that. He said, he's on the record. He also said, Dabo is going to be the flag bearer 2026. But he also preconditioned people. And I have deep reservation on that utterances. Because, first of all, if you're saying President Barrow should not have more than two terms, you don't want that. I mean, he made it very, very clear. UDP which is respectful. But he is not a junior person in UDP. We all know that.
Oh yeah. Currently, I think he's
No,
one
no,
of the
let me,
biggest
let me,
faces of
let
the
me, let me
party.
just land one
Yeah.
more thing, then you can answer this question.
Yeah.
But I think I am troubled. I'm troubled. I have the greatest respect for Mr. Mane. If you're saying there is no process, we haven't started the process. Why are you talking about the flag of BRC for 2026? That's my first question. But I think it kind of conflict, and people call your sincerity into question. When you are pressing Barrett not to run, but you are asking people to come and declare that they are not interested in this whole issue and all that, I think it's very undemocratic. And one thing I want to make sure it's very clear, whether it's the draft constitution, whatever, Gambians fought to don't want dictatorship anyone. They want multi-party system. They want any Gambian who meets the criteria, who is a bona fide Gambian, to form their party. No one can take that away from them. But also, within the party structures that's been in place, there should be divergent views.
Yeah.
No one should suppress, or no one should condition folks to come on and declare whether, I mean, those people didn't declare. You said that, but can you censor their people who wants them
Definitely.
to be president?
Definitely.
I think that's not fair, and we gotta call things as it is. My man doesn't understand what I'm going for with this, but I gotta get chance.
I respect that.
And I want you to give me a chance before you get too overzealous and excited where I'm landing on this question. But Kemo, you got the floor. Go ahead and answer this question.
Yeah. So again, I will want to just say that I believe that Mr. Mane was speaking on the fact that if Mr. Dabo is to run for office, he would support Mr. Dabo. But Mr. Mane, as a senior member of the party, knows that the party has a process and the party has a calendar. And this is a position that all of us, as members of the party, especially people who have served in leadership of the party, should be able to uphold. And I believe that Mr. Mane has been one of the people who have upheld this position of the party, and nothing would change that. He has said his wish, and I think we also have to respect that. And I do agree with Mr. Maro that when you speak about us not speaking about the whole process, then leaders of the party need to respect that. And I think, the party has come out with a statement to say that let's focus on what's important now. And when we get to that bridge, we will cross it. And I do believe that probably maybe the question was thrown at him and he had to answer it. But Mr. Dabo himself has not said that he will run for office. And I like to say that in 2021, nobody had this question to ask, because we all knew that obviously Mr. Dabo was going to run for office. But the reason today we have this question popping up is because, there's a question. And that question will answer itself when we get to that position. And I like to let things, evolve on their own. And I think the UDP has a matured process. Nobody can question that. This process has been used for over 6 election cycles, and it has produced a candidate that the people want. And we will go through that.
Sorry.
Yes.
Why you filibustering? It's my turn, sir.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that the UDP has a matured process that has selected in the last primary to select a flag bearer. We had 4 candidates who had applied. One is Lamin J. Dabo, lawyer Lamin J. Dabo. The other is Usainu Dabo. The other one is Usainu Mbu. No. It's a process. It's a process. I mean, it's a process.
Please.
Yeah, it's a process. So if the process, I mean, it's the same thing. We can say that, we went into 2016 convention knowing that Adam Barrow was going to come out as candidate, but we still went into it. No, exactly. It's the process. So in the last election, we had a process. 4 candidates, applied, and one came out victorious as the candidate. In 2026, we are going to go on with the same process. We are going to call on Central Committee to go on with the process, and then have a candidate. But I do agree with Mr. Maro that when a party puts out a position, I think we need to accept and respect that position. And for me, this is why I don't even have this conversation. But I do believe that the whole idea that we as a people have even pinpointed up to 2, 3, 4 names, 5 names of people that can replace Mr. Dabo. And I like to say this, and this is not the first time that I'm saying it. When I got into the national executive of the UDP, Mr. Dabo told us in our first executive meeting that we have been brought to take up the mantle of leadership within the party. And I believe that he is building young leaders who can take over from him when he is, he's ready to hand over the baton. But also the process has to be respected, and we cannot force people to do that. And that has always been my position. Can do instead of gainal, dangawara hand over power. It doesn't work like that. We are an organized institution. We are an institution that has its laws, and we are going to abide by them. And when the time is right, which is 11 months before elections, we will come out with a candidate, and we will produce to the candidate, to the Gambian people, what the Gambian people will desire, and we are hoping that they will give us the mandate, to rule this country.
All right, thank you, Kemo. Kemo. I think that is a great answer.
It's a political answer.
And I said, thank you for attempting to answer my question. But this is the follow-up question that I have. But Kemo, pressing on.
Yeah.
But let me say this in Mandinka. Yalong eko muneka fanya dile amanke saya boro the maro maningol kapa can you franco fanya de yalong this is important and this is fundamental.
Yeah.
I think why I am pressing this issue on this platform today. I listened to Mr. Mani and I listened with an open mind. And I shake my head because there was a follow-up question where Peter asked him and says, I know you're a retiree, and would you accept the position of Minister of External Affairs or Foreign Affairs under this reason? And he struggled, he paused and he says, yes, I will accept, but it's not for the money, right? So I think all these answers, we have to be careful because he lambasts Dr. Tangara, saying that he's not qualified to get this position and all that because of the past work or association with the Jammeh government. Me, from my vantage point, if I am going to criticize people, I want to make sure that it's all encompassing and I'll have to be fair. But this flag bearer issue needs to be communicated properly. And I think I am not endorsing any candidate over the other. But when you go in there and say, oh, yeah, you need to be careful. You can't talk. Come on the platform and declare. Because that's what he said exactly. He says, all the people, it's their support. They need to come in and say they are not interested. Well, don't say that. You are forcing people. We understand there's a process there. But I think also the reason we are sitting here, you are coming on this platform, we have a multi-party system. It's because Gambians fought for it. And that's why you took that firm stand, saying that we cannot compromise on the 2024 draft constitution. And I understand solely because Gambians don't want that anymore. They don't want anyone to impose on them. So if the supporters are saying, I prefer this candidate over the other, that's their preference. We need to respect that. But how do we coalesce and bring those? And I think that's where Mr. Mani's leadership matters. If there is chaos or there's a disagreement, I think he needs to lead by example and lead from the front to make sure that there is unity within the party, but not telling people to come in and declare. I don't think that's a good position to be in, and that's my position. And I hope youngsters like this will have the courage to challenge. I mean, if somebody says stuff like that, it's in contradiction to what UDP stands for, because we start by who is UDP, the people who come, people who are allied. But if somebody goes on the platform and speak like that, I really don't think that is the principles and more importantly, what the Gambians voted for and what they like to see moving forward. And I think that's more of a commentary than a question. And if you have something to add to that, you are more than welcome to do so.
Oh yeah. So I just want to say that like I mentioned earlier, I agree entirely with what you've said. And for me, I believe that as leaders of the party, we have to adhere to the rules and regulations that we have set, which is the positions of the party, and then we have to uphold those positions. And I like to say that as far as the Secretariat has come out and said that this is not when to discuss it, and Mr. Dabo himself has said that also on Kirfatu, to say that he hasn't even, when Fatu Ture asked him, are you going to run again? And, he said that is up to the Gambian people. And for me, I believe that is the position that the party has taken, that we do not have a candidate. Yes, we do have a party leader and secretary general. Like in 2016, we had as party leader and secretary general, but we had a different candidate. So if the time is right, the UDP will come up, to give its position on what we have in store for the people. But like Sariang said, I do agree entirely. We must be able to differentiate. And also, when we speak, we must also understand that we are not speaking just on our behalf, but we're also speaking on behalf of the party, because a lot of people, do listen to us. So this is why my position has not changed from what the party has given. And I do believe that everybody who is for the UDP should take the position that the Secretariat has given. That until the time is right, we will use the process that we have always used since 1996 to declare that we want a candidate, and the people will be happy with our candidate by God's grace.
Thank you, Kemo. Go ahead.
Kemo, I want to preface this question by saying the same kind of respect that you have for Mr. Dabo, that's the same kind of respect that I have. It's because I've seen him on a journey, and I've seen the kind of person he is. He's an honest man, and he's a family man. And I don't think he would do anything to sacrifice this country just on his own behalf. I know that. Yeah. But I'm also a student of, what should I say? I mean, I've seen the evolution of our politics. I listened to, you kept saying that there is a process, and everybody is saying there is a process. I know that there is a process, but you know what? When you talk about 2021, that was not a serious process. Trust me, no disrespect for the other candidates. It was a done deal. As long as within the UDP, Mr. Dabo is going to throw his hat in the ring, there will not be a process. Seriously, no one.
Oh, but I think that would be okay.
Let me come. Like that. Maybe you know something that I don't know.
Okay,
maybe, and most likely, yes, you're an insider. But I'm just saying, if Mr. Dabo is going to declare his candidacy and he wants to run based on his political resume, I don't see any of these aspirants that will run against him. It's not possible. So to me, that's a done deal. If he runs, Mr. Dabo is the candidate. If he steps aside, then that will be the test for the United Democratic Party. If all of them will subscribe to the rules, Memarek, you have your time to answer. I'm just telling you how I feel. As long as he's in the process, there will not be a process. Not a serious process anyway, because no one is going to challenge him. I mean, do you know something that I don't know? Am I wrong by thinking that?
Yeah, because I don't know why you think that nobody will challenge Mr. Dabo. That is my first question. Yes, but that's the point. This is why I made mention earlier that we are witnessing an evolution of political parties in the Gambia. And I made mention of a lot of parties that have never had a transition of leadership in this country.
Don't worry about them. We're talking about change in 2026.
But
there's a reason why being a non-UDP member, I'm saying that is the most viable vehicle. So don't deflect. Let's come to the party.
No, I'm not deflecting. But I am giving you the reason why we are having this conversation today.
Yes, sir.
I am giving you the reason.
Correct.
It's because we are witnessing an evolution.
Correct.
A political evolution. And we are also seeing that the generation that was here as political leaders are phasing out, right? And this is why questions are being raised. But I am putting it to you that it's more of assumptions to say that nobody would challenge Mr. Dabo. We have seen people challenging. Now, the challenging is either, the challenging is based on your own perception to say, was the challenging legitimate or not? But there have been challenges against Mr. Dabo in this country and also in this party. So what I am trying to say is that we have a process that we are going to follow. And Mr. Dabo being part of the process or not does not negate and doesn't reduce the position of the party or people within the party. Because I do believe, I think it would be unfair to say that the position, the process that we have, because I have voted in a primary for the party before, and I know that the process is followed. But it's up to the choice of the people in the room to say that we prefer Usainu Dabo over Lamin J. Dabo, for example. So if we go to the 2025 or 2026, early 2026, and we are in a room and members of the party say that they prefer so-and-so over so-and-so, that is what the people need to respect. But I do also acknowledge that you are coming from a place where you see the UDP as the only viable option. But even within the UDP, there are people who believe that your choice of candidate is not the viable option. There are people who believe that Mr. Dabo is the viable option.
I do get that. I do get that, which is fine. I do get that.
Yeah.
My question, though, is
because
I know for a fact. I mean, you can look. I've seen UDP going through a process of selection. In fact, I even attended one in the Gambia when they had it at and I know they use their Nakalinko Oyeti, the elderly people, to go and tell this candidate not to run, Kinini, compromise. I understand. Parties need to do whatever they need to do to make sure that everything
consensus,
consensus building, kind of. I mean, I understand all that. I listened to another interview that I listened to was Yanko Badaba, and this is what he said. He said, look, looking at the flag bearership, for instance, this is what Young said, and it kind of got me thinking. It's like, the reason why they would go to Mr. Dabo is because some of these candidates, mind you, if they were to come and they become the candidate and they lose, the chances are the party will fall apart, because these are the same kind of people. You know how difficult it is sometimes. They will bolt out of office and the party will fall apart. That is why it's only Mr. Dabo, the safe bet, because even if we lose his leadership, he will still be able to. In other words, he's saying that for the long-term sustainability of the party, it's only Mr. Dabo can contest and lose, and still the party will stay intact. Any of these other candidates, he said, whether it's Rohim Malik Law or whether it's Talib Bensouda, if they were to lose, they will not be able to handle it, and the chances are they will bolt. Do you agree with that kind of assessment, that a party like the UDP, if they were to lose under a Talib Bensouda candidacy, that it would bolt and the party would fall apart? Do you agree with his assessment?
Can you let him answer the question now?
Oh, let me ask.
Answer the question. I mean, you asked the question. Let him answer.
No, why the exactly?
He got it.
Understand, Nala. Yeah. So for me, I don't think a single individual has been a reason why a political party has stayed in existence. And I don't believe that a single individual is the reason why unity has lasted in the party or in any party. I do believe that individuals come together because they have the same vision, they have the same ideology, and they believe in the same thing. And this is why parties are formed, and we have kept parties going on. And I believe that the UDP has passed the test of time. That even when Mr. Dabo and co were in prison, which was the lowest of our lows, we have kept the party going on. So I don't understand if we say that Mr. Dabo is the only person that can keep unity within the party. I am of the belief that the UDP has built itself through time, and we have been able to stand that. If Youngs feels that if, for example, Mr. Dabo doesn't contest and we lose the election, I don't even think 2026, I do understand he is speaking from a point of assumptions that what if we lose? But I don't think that we need to come into 2026 with that position that we are going to lose elections. Nobody comes into elections thinking that you would lose. Everybody comes into elections thinking that you'd win. So be it Mr. Dabo, I believe 2026 is for the UDP. Be it someone else, I believe 2026 is for the UDP. And I don't believe that if anybody loses elections, they are going to vote or they wouldn't be there to hold the fort. It is you and I, members of the party, who are going to hold the fort. And we have lost elections in 1996. That didn't disintegrate the party. We have lost elections in 2001. That did not disintegrate the party. We have lost elections in 2006. That did not disintegrate the party. We have lost elections in 2011. That did not disintegrate the party. So what makes you think that if, and a big if, we lose elections in 2026, that will disintegrate the party?
Yeah. Now, some are questioning whether that's what Young. I don't know whether you saw that interview. I mean, the way I mean, that's basically what he said, unless my understanding of it. That's what he said. You know, I mean, I'm not sure whether either Sarian or
I didn't watch the interview.
I didn't listen to it. I didn't listen to it, and that's what I was going to say. Kemo, have you listened to it? Is that what he said?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't watch the interview. In fact,
and that's what I heard. And what this guy is saying is basically what I said, even though he said that's not what he said. So I don't know.
The cousins are saying, Musa, you are misquoting Yanks. You are misquoting Yanks. So I don't know. I didn't listen to it. So
they like to say that. I mean, but I have no.
I didn't listen to the interview. But pressing on that question, Kemo, obviously, you talk about being a mentee of Mr. Dabo and a whole bunch of others, and I think it's been a wish of everyone, you and I and Musa as family members. If we build a solid family foundation, get our kids through school, because we want, at the end of the day, God forbid, whatever happens to us, our kids continue the mantle. And speaking from that perspective, and I think your answer was brilliant, that somehow if someone had to lose or someone had to be in succession, of party leadership, the party should be intact, right? So I think where do you come in play, or in the equation, where you think this whole he said this, he said that, but what is the common denominator right now as far as getting the party united? At the end of the day, the process that you keep talking about, if that process take place at the right time, as stipulated by UDP's internal policy, whoever emanated as the winner of the flag bearership, would you rally, or what is your feeling? You think?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Oh yes. Personally, this is why when they say camps or factions, I say I don't believe that we have camps or factions within the UDP. I do believe that we're all under Usainu Dabo's camp, because, like I mentioned earlier, there's nobody who has openly came out and said that they want to run for president. Even Mr. Dabo hasn't said he wants to run for president. So everything that we are speaking on today are sets of assumptions that we have, that we believe. But like I said again, it's success for us that people have seen quality in our elected members, that they believe that they are capable of running this country, because they have lost faith in the current government. And for me, that is a position that I will always uphold. But going forward, I am a member of a party, and my position has always been the position of the party. And whoever the party puts forward, I will campaign tooth and nail to make sure that we take that individual to State House. And also, I like to say that this is why I've always said that we must always preach unity. And in as much as we might disagree, we cannot burn bridges, because whoever emerges as the party flag bearer needs the other members of the party to win. Nobody can do it alone. And you don't just need the members of the party, you need the Gambian people to win. Because naturally, Gambians don't align to political parties. And this is the truth. Majority of the Gambian people can be sympathizers, but they are not members of political parties. And it is important that we understand these things. Majority of the Gambia are swing voters. And you don't just need members of your party to win elections. You need the whole population of the Gambia to win elections. And this has always been my position. And even this is why I mentioned opposition parties, that we must build a consensus to see how best do we move forward as a people. and usher in a new and a progressive Gambia that we want. But it needs to be based on respect. It needs to be based on due diligence, and it also needs to be based on a harmonious process that we all want. And for me, like I mentioned earlier to Sarian, whoever the party puts forward has my 100% backing and blessing. Because I mean, everybody that's been mentioned here is what they are today because of the United Democratic Party. And without the UDP, nobody would have known these individuals. And I can tell you for a fact, nobody will win an election in this country if you don't have the blessings of Hussein Udabo. And
Absolutely.
anybody can take that to the bank. Nobody can make it alone. And for me, that has always been my point. Be it Hussein Udabo, be it whoever he mentors and whoever he pushes forward, nobody will be able to do it if he doesn't give you that backing. That's one. Two, independent candidates, whoever is thinking of, and for me, that this is why when people say that, well, if Dabo is not candidate or if so and so is not candidate, they are going to split or they are going to move out of the party. I think these are just smokes and mirrors, because I don't believe that anybody will want to venture into the wilderness like that. Because I do believe that whoever has joined the UDP, if truly you have joined out of genuine conviction, it's based on the position of the party and the beliefs of the party and what the party stands for, why you have joined them. So if the party doesn't serve that purpose anymore, you are entitled to go on your way. But I do not believe that anybody can be president of this country in 2026, as Musa Jeng has said, without the UDP backing you to the State House.
And I agree with you totally. That whole independent candidacy is like what they call it again, whistling in the wilderness. I think any person within the UDP, if you do not have Mr. Dabo hold your hand from Banjul to Koina and say, he's my man, your chances of winning, it's almost zero. I honest to God believe that. Now,
I got my second question.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, young Hamza question. How
No, my question about how you asked 3 questions in every row. So let me ask the question, brother man. Is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
All right. So by the way, I just listened to and there's different interpretation of what Yankuba said, but I just listened from what I understand what he said. He said anyone who is vying for the flag bearership of UDP for 2026, if indeed UDP loses, that person should be able to put the party together. If that person cannot do that,
then they shouldn't contest.
Shouldn't contest. That's what and
that is, and I 100% agree with that. If that's what he said.
Now, that's what I listened. I just somebody
when
just
did
sent me.
When did you listen to it?
I just listened to it right now.
I listened the entire.
Okay, but I don't want this to be back and forth. Hold on a second.
Let's pause what you said and what I said. I just want us to focus on what is the difference between what you just
I'm
said.
not gonna focus. You have your way of interpreting things, and Mr. Morong has a way. Let's agree to disagree. Time to move on. Kemo needs to go. He's been sitting here for 3 days.
You are the one who brought it back.
Kemo, that's what I want. You know, I want to make this impartial as much as possible, not try to have any strings attached.
I am not interested in.
Okay, so let me just try to translate this. So nakira akoleko momo member lola UDP 2026 amari nyanda kela moldi me along as a party mutano together post election, then I agree entirely. And I think that is all what we are looking for as a party, because it's more.
Hold on a second.
There was something else he said. I'm telling you, just to give you
context. But you know what? Here is the thing. All I'm just saying is I want to make sure that, because I was very, very upfront with you. When you posed the question to me, I said I did not listen to it. And I did not. To be honest with you, I did not listen to the entire interview.
Just 2 minutes ago.
They sent me the clip and I just listened to it.
No, but you cannot allow yourself to be sent a 1 second clip. You have to listen to the entire thing.
But that was the portion, though, that we were discussing. That's why I'm saying. Okay? And you know, this we can put all this to rest. If you reach
Yeah,
out
so
to me,
so for
and
me,
say, Yankuba,
if
come on before the people by the people show and answer this question, and he would be more than happy to answer it. That's what I want you to do, maybe. Then it's a fair
yeah,
deal, right?
so
Okay, do me
yeah,
justice.
yeah.
After the show, listen to what he said. The
Okay,
entire.
so
I
okay,
will.
There was
okay.
something else that he said.
I'll listen to it
I
too.
will. No problem, Musa. Well, no problem. No problem. I
Yeah,
will
so
do, Father
I'll
Musa.
listen to it too. And but then if that's the case, I think we all want continuity and sustainability in our political organizations. And if that's what Young said, I do believe that anybody would want the same thing, because you don't want your party to disintegrate after the elections. Because
Absolutely.
presidential elections are not the only elections you have to contest. Because you have to contest for the parliamentary elections, you have to contest for local government and council elections. And you need leadership at those critical moments. But I want to believe that anybody the UDP puts forward will win in 2026, especially if we can unite with every well-meaning Gambian to see that we push the agenda of the Gambia forward. For me, that has been my position, for the last couple of years, and I do believe that we can indeed have that.
Why?
All
Why?
right.
Why am I? Why am
Back,
I?
back Kemo. I think Musa, I will give you the last two questions because Kemo's been here for a while and it's almost 1 o'clock. So after you do that, you ask your last questions. He can have a closing statement and we can call it good.
Kemo,
Yep.
I saw you and Talib Bensouda and some of your other guys in Senegal. And basically testing your foreign affairs metal, if you want to call it that. And even the government, they were not very happy with that. They're like, why in God's name would be a mayor and a potential opposition interfering with our foreign affairs protocol? And then even within the UDP, I don't know whether you know the all of Reggae. Who the hell do they think they are? So what was that trip all about? And what do you say to some of these flags that have been raised? That
Okay.
Yeah, from the
Yeah.
government
So
side of things.
I
And
mean, I think the government. I mean, I think it's reasonable for them to raise flags, but I mean, when they were brutalizing Pastef and when they were beating up and locking off Pastef in the Gambia, UDP was the party that was supporting Pastef because we were all in the opposition. So they don't expect that our relationship will go down the drain just because Pastef is in government today.
correct.
And our relationship with Pastef began in 2017 when I was in Sokon and Karang with some, like I mentioned earlier, when we were volunteering with Help Gambia, supporting refugees at the border who were leaving Gambia to run during the political impasse. So I met Pastef Karang under the leadership of Samba. He's late now, unfortunately. He died last year. He was a friend of mine. And we had built a relationship with Pastef Karang and the UDP, even though it was the youth wing at the time, as I was Secretary General of the youth wing. I had been invited to Karang a number of times to take part in their activities. In fact, when President Usman or Prime Minister Usman Sonko was in Sokon during his Brok tour, which was to empower and encourage people to go back to the land, we were invited to go to Sokon and meet him. So this relationship didn't start now. And in fact, what has cemented it more is that Jamil Sane, who is the treasurer of the Pastef party and the mayor of Parcel Aseni, we have been able to build a relationship between Parcel Aseni and Kanifi Municipal Council. And I introduced Talib to Jamil Sane and Jamil Sane to Talib some years ago whilst they were still in the opposition. And when Jamil was in prison, myself and MC Cham visited him, and we went to Robust to go see him and show our support and defiance to what is happening to them. And Pastef Gambia also, we had supported them financially, we had supported them with regalia, we had supported them in ways that we could, in so many ways. So this relationship didn't start yesterday or now. So we have, and I believe that Pastef are people of nobility, and they will not throw away their partners and friends from yesterday just because they are in government today. And this is what they have shown. This was a private trip between municipality to municipality, but also it was a political trip. In fact, it was at our own accord. We didn't pay ourselves any per diem or anything, but this was something that we funded out of our own pocket. And we have been able to build a very strong relationship with Parcel and also Pasteur Senegal. Their members of parliament met our members of parliament. We met their council members. And at party level also, we have had discussion. So basically, that's it. You know.
Final question. and then you can have your closing, Kemo. It was definitely nice having you on this platform and discussing all these issues. The census just came out. What do you make out of it? I mean, the reactions are different. I'm sure you haven't really, because most people would see like, here we have data. Let's work on the data and devise strategies. And some are saying that whole thing is made up. That they don't even trust the census. What say you about the whole politics of the census?
Do I think it's made up? No. But do I think that it also correlates with our position that the 2021 elections was a sham? Yes. When you look at the numbers we've had on the census, for example, you are telling me that the preliminary numbers of Gambians is 2.4 million. But again, we were lower in 2021. But you are telling me that over 900,000 people were eligible to vote. Raises questions. You are telling me that in Banjul, for example, 21,000 out of 26,000 eligible voters. And by 2021, it was lower. 21,000 people are eligible to vote in Banjul. So there are so many red flags that have been raised because of the preliminary numbers we've had, and there are people who don't want us to compare it to electoral numbers, saying that social numbers and political numbers are different. But I do believe that data and statistics are no different, because data and statistics is what wins elections.
Oh, shoot.
And for example, how can the Senegalese government come out and say that they have over 400,000 Senegalese living in the country, but our census says that only 40,000 Senegalese live here? I mean, I've seen over 40,000 Senegalese in Gambia alone. So it makes no sense that you are telling me that 40,000 Senegalese live in Gambia. It just doesn't make sense. It is either that these 400,000 Senegalese that were publicized during the COVID and also were given support by the Senegalese government have assimilated and have been given Gambian documentation, reducing the number to 40,000, or there's something wrong. And and another thing, even though it is hard to speak about these things because they're complex issues, I see no reason, for example, why we should even talk about tribe when we discuss our census. I do understand it is for anthropological issues, and it is for social issues to know the dimension and what makes up the Gambian population. But I do believe that the conversation needs to go beyond. And yeah, so for me, it has raised a bit of questions, especially in regards to electoral numbers. But also, another question it raises is, do we need electoral reforms, or do we need to work on the numbers that we have seen during the census?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we're still going to be talking about the census and see its implication. But at this juncture, the data is the data. And I'm not sure there's, I mean, you know how these census are. Even here, when they do it in the US, they'll give you a form to fill out. People just give their own information. There isn't much. I mean, there isn't much. The Bureau of Statistics, there isn't much they can do. I mean, it is what it is. Maybe they made it up. I don't know.
No. I don't think they made it up. Yeah, I don't think they made it up. I think because the enumerators come from different backgrounds. The enumerators come from different social settings. I think it just raises questions about the electoral numbers that we saw. I think for me, my question more has to do with IEC than it has to do with the GBOS. Yeah. And for me, that is my position. So this is what I'm saying. Do we really need to relook at electoral laws and reform those electoral laws? Because, for example, if I have met an alkali in KMC who has boasted that he has given over 13,000 attestations.
Right.
So are you telling me that 13? Exactly. So, and in Banjul, how can you have 21,000 out of 26,000 as eligible voters?
It's not possible.
Even if you're trying to tell me that, okay, majority of Banjul doesn't live in Banjul anymore. But I mean, I think 21,000 is just a large number. And I think, these are, you cannot tell me that 40% of the population are under 15, but still 900,000 people are eligible to vote in the Gambia. So these are all data that, we definitely have to look at.
Yeah. All right, brother man. So I guess, Kemo, give us your last.
It's been great having you on the program today, and we encourage all the young political aspirants who had a future and who have a stake in politics to come forward and have a discussion. So I think you did great, and kudos. And I really think I was very, very fair today. Very fair indeed.
You were. No, you were. Apart from the filibuster, apart from that, I think you were fair.
No, I did not. To be honest, I did not filibuster. All I want you to do was to give the man the opportunity to respond to
answer questions.
But look, this young man is very political. You ask him a question, he gets into some other.
Well, he said at the very, very first time when you gave him the chance to introduce himself, he quoted some books and he told where he took his inspiration.
It's like Trump. You ask him about childcare, he's talking about the border.
So hey, he's a political junkie. There's nothing wrong with that. But Kemo has been great. You have the floor. I mean, whatever you want to give in your closing remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Mr. Jeng and Mr. Maro. And I'd like to say a big thank you for everyone to everyone that has watched this program. I think we need to have more spaces like this where people can come and share ideas and discuss issues. And for me, I like to say that the United Democratic Party continues to open its doors to everyone, and that we believe that all and well-meaning Gambians should see us as the most viable, vehicle to usher in the progressive Gambia that we all wish for. Now, within the UDP, there are people, and this is why we are the United Democratic Party. We are united, but we are united in our democracy because we have people who have different ideas, we people who have different, positions. But what binds us together is our love for the country and our position to be able to push for development. And we have sacrificed so much to see that this country is at the pedestal that we wanted to see. Are we happy with how far we have come as a country? No, but do we believe that there's so much that we can do? We believe so. On that note, I would like to encourage everyone. And we are open to criticism as much as we can to be able to learn from our mistakes and also build on that. Are we perfect? No, like every organization, it's made up of people. And these people, and people are not perfect. So there's a high tendency that organizations like the United Democratic Party are also not going to be perfect. But we have started a rebranding phase and we are looking at building, the new UDP, built on the spirit and the blessing of our elders and the energy of the younger generation. We do believe that self-accountability is very important, and we have started those processes to look inward and see where we can do better and how we can be better. For me, I personally said that I do believe that this is a clarion call where all of us as young people and as an opposition should come together. And I believe that together we can change the Gambia and make it what we want it to be. I don't want my children to grow up in an environment like I've grown up in. Because growing up within a dictatorship is like being a bird in a cage. And you do not know how far you can go because you have been suppressed and you have been oppressed. But now that we have a freer society, which we gave ourselves, and we are able to push for things we believe in, I see no reason why young Gambians cannot, make the sky the limit. And we have seen how best we are doing in academics. We're seeing how young Gambians, are doing well globally. And I believe that if we bring those ideas together and, invested into politics also, there's a lot of change that we would see. So on that note, I like to encourage all young people of this country to see politics as a viable mission of changing this country. And like it or not, politicians are going to be the ones to make decisions for you in the long run. So we must not see politics as a game of as a foreign game, but we must see it as a game that will really impact our lives.
So I hope to see more young people come join political parties, because when we were joining parties, we wanted to be an inspiration to the next generation. And we're happy that we're seeing more young people come forward. But we now need to take leadership positions within these parties and usher in the new Gambia that we want. On that note, I say a big thank you to everyone and hope we would have more of these conversations going forward.
Thank you very much, Kemo. Definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kemo.
Brother Sarian.
Yes, sir.
It was a nice conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Kemo.
Just to let you know that when the question and answer was going on,
right,
Trump was at his golf course. There was some shots fired, but it didn't hit him or anything like that. But you know, some crazies went on ramping. But you know,
who? I mean, Trump.
Yeah.
He's gonna make a big deal out of it.
Well, you know, he can make a big deal. You know, this is I think we have to look at these in a broader perspective. You know, people can make all the things, but I think that's why what we say and what we do matters. When you want to incite hate, when people's been threatened, right, especially in Springfield, Ohio, schools been closed because of bomb threats. People fell people are living in seclusion because they really felt that if they go out, someone is going to attack. It's not a good position to be in. So, you know, I'm not encouraging this, but I think you have to look at it, and I think hopefully the pundits and the political elites is going to look at this and say, you know what? I think we need to tap down the rhetoric. I mean, this morning I watched crazy J.D. Vance. He was doubling down on this stupid notion that Haiti immigrants eat pets and all that crazy stuff. So you're gonna get someone all pop up and they're gonna go crazy about it. And I think it's just not. You got a Haitian community, a huge presence in Florida, where he's at Mar-a-Lago and all that. So you gotta be careful.
Exactly.
You gotta be careful. I'm not in any way endorsing, but I think everything starts with him. And I think the man has been crazy and he hasn't been held accountable. And I think that's what the problem is in this country. And I think it's just very unfair, you know?
Extremely. I wouldn't be surprised even if he's making up all these things. I'm telling you, the man dies for attention. For all you know, they could even be just propping up this thing because he thought his attempted assassination kind of boosted up his his polling numbers. For all you know, this whole thing could even be something that they just cook it up. I don't trust that man with whatever he does. Really. And it's unfortunate. I cannot even believe that this race is still close. You go figure. I'm telling you, I seriously.
But I think the conversation should be Democrats should not take any chance. Everyone who needs to vote
has to vote.
You should go out and vote in numbers. We've seen this, Musa. He's popping all these things because the freaking guy is scared. I mean, that's the truth, right? So he knew because everything is about him. So I mean, everything is disgusting. Musa, I've seen people that are like, you know, people that I'm affiliated with in the past in my career comes out and say, we don't trust him. We don't do this. We don't do it. He knew, and he knew he lost the debate. And now the ground is shifting on him. And what he's going to resort to, the bickering, dividing people, calling people names and all that stuff. I mean, but there are people who've been impacted by this thing. I mean, I've seen someone who was on the camera speaking Creole, and after the journalist was interpreting and was talking about it's just a tight, you know, position to be in. I kind of put myself in their shoes. How would I feel if I'm in that small town? I felt like if I move from point A to point B, someone is gonna call me names and all that. Can I restrain myself if someone I get it? I'm telling you right now. Yesterday I was with my good friend CD. We came from a naming ceremony, and there was a Chevron station by, and he said he was thirsty and he wants to get something. We went in there and I got something, and I saw this guy staring at me. I mean, I'm completely. I was wearing this outfit, by the way. I said,
And I said, and I look at it, sometimes these, I said, man, why are you staring at me like this? What's going on? Boom. He says, yeah, I like your outfit. And he goes, what kind of outfit? I say, I'm from Gambia, West Africa. You know what he told me? What are you doing here? I said, who the hell are you? And there were customers in there. I said, who the hell are you to ask me what I'm doing here? Who owns this country? I said, who owns this country? And everyone, like 5 people, there were 3 Latinos in the line, and they were all like, and the cashier was like looking at me. I said, who the hell are you?
Exactly.
What do you think? What rights do you have more than me in this country and asking me what am I doing here? And he look, oh, no, it's not. I said, no, it is. Because the way you were looking at me, I said, man, you got to travel around the world. You got to be. I said, you know what, by the way? You should have joined us at our event today, because that's where you learn. Because I think you guys are behind the power cup. And he goes, oh, no, I travel. I said, no, you might travel missionaries around the world, but I think history and your education is lacking. And I said, by the way, I grabbed my ID card and I said, here it is. I retired. I served 22 in the military. So you cannot tell me what I'm doing. I said, by the way, did you serve? He says, no. I said, you know what? I saved that conversation. Next time, I want someone who served, who went for deployment, to ask questions what I'm doing here. Yes, that's what I did.
But this country has changed. Seriously.
I'm telling you, this Hispanic guy, you know what he did? You know what he did? He waited when I went outside. I was getting into my car. He says, amigo, stop. And he shook my hand and he says, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm so proud of you. You answered this question. I said, but we have to stand on our own. Who the hell is this guy to just tell me what I'm doing in this country? Who is he?
That's another Trump voter. I mean, American politics has really shifted. Some of the things that is coming out of his mouth, no American leader has ever been able to say that. And still
I was thinking, I'm not going to say that on the platform, but I was thinking about, I got a size 11, and I was like, you better be careful before I shot this.
It's just, but anyway. But it was a nice conversation with Kemo. I mean, really, everything that I thought about him, he's very he knows his stuff. I think it's important. Bring people that know their stuff. We'll push the envelope. Sometimes that get me in trouble, but because sometimes that get me in trouble.
I think we did great, and these are questions that we have to ask. I mean, you don't have to go, but you have to ask the questions, and I think it's very, very important. Right. Having Kemos come out here, having different. And by the way, I saw your man. Mr. Fati, what's his name? Boy Fati.
Yeah, he said we've been compromised.
Yeah. So the fact that he's making a big deal. I think what they don't understand is this platform is free. You forwarded a voicemail when you reach out to the Minister of Tourism. Exactly. What is Koreans? You invited him. So invitation is open to everyone.
We're always.
Right. So I said his energy and focus should be to encourage his folks, since the president is doing a magnificent job, to come in and make a case for the president, right? I think it's great. I mean, we're open to that, and if he wants to take the challenge on, good on him,
If the perception that he thinks that we are compromised, we're only here to bat for the opposition. If this platform turns to be that, I'm not even interested. Seriously, because that is not the history of this platform. We're not interested in supporting opposition or always supporting is the very democracy that we've always been committed to. That's why the program is called For the People, by the People. Now, we don't have a monopoly on the truth. All we can do is reach out to people. We have never disrespected a single individual on this platform, irrespective of whether you are NPP, DOI, or UDP. All we can do is reach out and invite people. I mean, sometimes we don't have anybody, and we come here, we wing it, we do our analysis. You can like it, you can dislike it, but we just call it the way we see it. But again, we will continue to reach out, Boy Fati. I always tell him this. I mean, get your recommendations Tell me who you want us to invite. Help me out. Some of them don't know me, but I'm always CDJ. You know how many times I've talked to CDJ? Several times. Seriously. I mean, I have. And if CDJ were to come on this platform, we brought here, what's his name again? Dusano was on this platform. And he spoke his mind. I think I remember calling him Maverick, and PJ was so mad at me. He's like, why in the hell would you call this man a Maverick? So for us, it's not really about trying to push.
I hope he watched, Musa. I hope he watched this program today, because I think we asked the right questions.
Oh, we did.
So I hope he did, because I think what he was thinking and how things surface, and at the end of I don't think we have any meeting before we have a guest here. You and I don't talk, and I think we had that exchange. You can tell that we don't have a meeting before the meeting here. So we come here, we ask the question, and they come along. So I think everyone should know that, So I hope the cousins understand.
But they're not bad. They're like, oh, you misquoting Youngs, and but the very gist. Of what I said.
Even my Kianka cousin there, what's his name? Bas
who?
No, but Bas, last week Bas was on your side. He was like, Musa, but today he said, no, Musa, he didn't say that there. And Bas
I wanted them to tell me what I said that he didn't say, but that's the part that kind of eluded me. What did I say that he didn't say?
Invite.
I am reading.
They are the troublemakers, though. Yeah, by Omar Bund, always
like I'm reading what they said. He said, and I could not see the difference of what they're basically saying. Lolawa, Akmalalawa.
But Musa Sidinja, did you see the Sidinja's exchange with Ahmad Ba in Parliament too? Did you see that or no?
Why did you not see that?
You give where credit is due. Ahmad Ba as Ahmad Ba. You've said that on the program many times. He doesn't like to answer the question, but I think he hold the line that they are co-equal of the government when they come to Parliament.
Oh, CDI did.
Oh yeah, he told him he needs to answer the question and be respectful to the names, and if they ask the question, they should answer the question appropriately.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but
I think with that being said, you should invite him and tell him to come over here.
You remember I sent you the
Not later. No. Wahuma is the guy. He said he was busy traveling, but he's back. I invite Sidinjai, your friend, to come over on this platform.
How is Sidinjai my friend? I don't even know the man. But no, but we'll reach out to him. And but anyway, we want to thank our viewers again. You're here with us. We definitely appreciate you. We come every Sunday because of you. We ask the questions because of you. We want to make it hot so that you can glue on. You're not going to drop off and say, have a bit of a body.
But Musa, one thing I want to add before you close. In 2 weeks is a yellow weekend in Seattle, Washington. Everything will be on deck. Everyone is invited. And you know what? There will be questions asked, and I'll be present and accounted for.
I am jealous though, because I see everybody is kind of having advertising the Seattle program. Rohi Malik Lo. I'm like, Rohi, let not advertise the program be. And then I saw Talib got on the bandwagon also. I'm like, Seattle. It looks like all roads lead to Seattle. I am jealous. I gotta tell you.
It's yellow weekend, man. I'm telling you. I guess where are they gonna have the event at?
Oh, Demba Baldes. Oh my goodness. And that is a huge, beautiful event center. Yeah. Definitely. And you know what, Banya, I might just, my man, for the Jaula, he invited me. He said, Musa, see you in Seattle. I'm like, oops, wait, I don't want to come to Seattle and you'll be nowhere to be found.
I think you should be like, hey, if you're gonna show up, I'm gonna be right next to you, man. And I can arrange that, Musa, even the last minute. If he committed that he's gonna show in Seattle,
Show up? Yes.
you will.
I will put a ticket and head on to Seattle.
Yes, absolutely.
I guarantee you. Because it's a yellow weekend. I wouldn't miss it. All right. Brother man, we will be back next Sunday, inshallah.
Inshallah.
To the Maulud Nabi.
Happy Maulud Nabi, Musa.
Sehu Islam, Bainas.
Watch Al Kamil be, please, for that.
All right, my brother.
Pray, man. All right, sounds good, brother.
All right, thanks, man. Sorry,